China.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Table of Titans. It is Thursday again, and peace and war is basically where we're at right now, and it could be domestic or international because it seems we're fighting on both fronts here at this. It's chaos, this whole fog of war. We've seen Trump go overseas, come back. We got peace deals. We got the whole Israel question here at this point, and then a whole pile of domestic and nothing happening over here with the government shutdowns. I got some interesting things to show you, and I got a whole crew here to share it with you. I got Rdoc, Tron, and Space Shot. Welcome in, everybody. Tron, how you doing, sir?
What's up, guys? Another great week. Shout out to everyone joining us. Hit that thumbs up. And boss, peace in the Middle East. Absolutely amazing. And we have indictments of a Bolton, boom time, baby, after a Comey. Let's see where this goes. And this is what I like to see, guys, is get the public used to seeing these criminals from the past have to, say something in order to eliminate themselves from the chessboard. But again, every time I see this Comey and the Bolton, the documents, like Dan told us this years ago, we knew about this. We knew that Bolton was always not part of the team back in the day. And again, one of many of war and peace. And this is the war at home, guys, the infiltration instead of invasion. And again, this Bolton indictment is a step in the right direction. Many, many more characters to go. And in 2025 has definitely been an interesting year as gold and silver are up to the moon today, guys. 4,300 on gold, 53 on the silver, and stock market saw a little bit of a downturn as boss puts a little bit of a stranglehold there on China. They don't want our soybeans, and we don't want China. Boom time, baby. Hit that thumbs up. And also New York. Pray for New York, guys. Their taxes are going to go up $9 billion in order to pay for free stuff. Communism in New York. And we'll get into it. Thank you, guys. Thumbs up. Let's boom.
Exactly. Mr. Rdoc, sir, let's get going. We got to rip the Band-Aid off of it because we got speed run with him international.
That's right. Speed run, EU ascension, Serbia, Turkey, Ukraine, the Putin call, the Budapest meeting that's coming up with Hungary is very, very important to understand with Hungary. Tomahawks, do we know? Do we know yet? We may know tomorrow. Gaza peace deal, we're going to make some focus on that because it's both the Israeli meetings that happened and the Knesset visit. We got the actual deal that happened in Sharm el-Sheikh and what happened with European leaders. We'll go through some handshakes and see how Trump manhandles these European vassal states. Then we got the Chinese war. Okay, I'm sorry, trade war. We got the Indian trade war. We got the Afghan-Pakistan proxy war. That's U.S.-China. And we got the Venezuela war. That's U.S.-China-Russia. Okay, and then we got Argentina, which is your soybeans. And I'm so glad I got to the soybeans last time because now we saw Trump's comments about soybeans, and you know that the Chinese weren't stupid when Argentina got their $20 billion and they went ahead and said, we got our $20 billion. Well, we'll sell our soybeans at below market and we'll fuck the U.S. and give China their soybeans. And so China doesn't need to buy soybeans from the U.S. anymore. That's just Basant and Navarro being idiots. And the Trump Susie Wiles' team is trying to cover their ass politically here at home because the farmers are pissed. And they are not pissed at China. They are pissed at the U.S. for letting it happen.
Well, and just to throw it out there, there's that whole rock concert that he did shortly thereafter. And I heard today that the Trump administration would like to send another $20 billion.
Another $20 billion. We got to keep Mullein in power because it's all about rare earths, oil, and keeping that sphere of influence going on. The water. We got a clip from a U.S. military general back in 2023 that we'll play that explains it all again for you guys of why they do these wars. This is not. Doesn't matter who the president is. It does not matter who the president is. It doesn't matter if it's our best president in the world or if it's our worst president in the world. Continuity of agenda in our deep state bureaucracy keeps rolling along.
Exactly. It's crazy. Mr. Space Shot, sir, how you doing?
How's it going out there, my fellow world patriots? We have an addition today, Hulk. We got an additional couple hundred people over there that Didn't catch
Wait,
the memo.
Let's blow off the dirt.
There we go.
Yeah,
Hold on.
we're still
Stick
here,
on.
guys. Just a little dusty on there. Just want to clean that out.
So yeah, 5 years ago to the day, and this is just really, I understand some people got their channel back a day earlier and a day later, but for me, October 15th, 2020, I had previously covered the night before the Hunter Biden laptop story on the New York Post, as everybody did, and woke up on October 15th, 2020 to massive amounts of messages, emails, smoke signals, all sorts of things like, dude, where's your channel? It's gone. I'm not here. And then wake up 5 years later, and I wish it was that quick, but it surely wasn't. We did a lot of rebuilding and whatnot, but the gods have granted me another go run on the YouTubes. But I want to take this opportunity to let all the folks know, where we are. We're over here on Rumble, guys. Rock and roll.
I just want to make sure they gave you your channel back a while ago. If I remember right, you started streaming and then they banned you on that same channel and then they gave it back to you. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, it's more or less. It was like that. And so originally it was deleted in 2020. Like I mentioned, October 15th, 2020. And then all the appeals got declined. But then somehow in 2024, they gave me the channel back and then almost immediately gave me a flag on like a 2-year-old post. So even though I have all my videos archived and, a lot of them are on BitChute and archived offline, I removed every video from my YouTube channel at that point because they kept going back in time and flagging people. And so I don't fully expect this to stay, which is why I'm imploring the people. Back then, I knew it was coming and I said, here, go to this channel, subscribe because this will inevitably happen. And it did, but only about 1 out of every 4 people made their way over. And then that one got redone and that got redone. And so we've rebuilt and we've rebuilt and we've rebuilt, but we've been doing news the whole time. So we are here on YouTube. We're here on Rumble, DLive, Twitter, X, whatever you're calling it nowadays, BitChute, and all these other different platforms. So go give Rumble some love. And I wanted to give a big hat tip and some prayer requests out there for everybody for Country's husband. I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty of it, but let's just say prayers for his heart and that he makes a full recovery, and prayers for Country, who's been simulcasting with us for the last 7.5 years here from the Patriot news crew, who's now running the Liberty-based news over there. So hopefully everything works out with her husband, and prayers are going out to her and her family as well. And can't ever forget to thank the mods who keep us in line. So appreciate your help as well. And for now, back to you, Mr. Hulkinator.
Yeah, thank you. Wait, the mods keep you in line?
Well, dude,
I didn't think so.
I mean, a lot of times they do, but sometimes I miss, and then I'll catch it later on. But they do. They're always on point. It's just me sometimes that forgets.
Exactly. All right, let's get into it. We've been enough talking. So this is a pretty big thing. I think this is what Trump would want us to start with here, because he's not very happy of his triumphant photo that he finally got on the front of Time magazine, being on the positive thing right here. But of course, he was very unhappy with the turkey neck that he has there of his older age. And he says it's the worst photo ever. And I found this. So this perfectly displays his thoughts on the photo. Right there. That's pretty much how he feels. Right there, guys. So there's your Time magazine. That's the way it should have been, in my opinion.
Instead, we got the turkey neck booger shot, huh?
Exactly. Here's the other side of the things we want to rip the Band-Aid off of. There's a couple of comments in here about Trump and heaven and whatnot here. And I got 2 clips, because there's one from a couple of days ago, and then there's one from today that RFK had spoken about. We're going to rip the Band-Aid off, and let's go here first. Stairway to heaven or highway to hell?
Go ahead. You had talked a couple of weeks ago, you were doing an interview, and you talked about how you hope to end the war in Ukraine because it might help you get into heaven. How does this help? Does this help?
I mean, I'm being a little cute. I don't think there's anything going to get me in heaven, okay? I really don't. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound. I may be in heaven right now as we fly in Air Force One. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make heaven, but go ahead.
You had talked a couple.
So that's that first clip that came out, which I thought was quite interesting that he would say something, and I don't know full context, and I was going to ask Tron, maybe he saw this in the very beginning there. Do you have any fuller context of what he's speaking about here?
Well, no, that's what I wanted to kind of find out, how this conversation came out. But, he just said he's being a little cute. And in all honesty, we have to pray for peace and pray for our president who's kind of making this happen. So, you get to a certain age, you kind of start pondering and wondering, and especially July 13th, you're really going to start, counting your, blessed each and every day that you wake up. So this is Boss just kind of, having fun, I think, with the staff here. And again, this is not necessarily a religious president, but a praying president. And this is a good thing. So we pray for our boss, and we know he's trying to do the best that he can.
We've covered this on multiple times before, because this isn't his first comment about his concern about him getting into heaven. And I've tweeted about this before, because my concern is this, and guys, is practicing Christians and folks in the audience, can comment on this, but part of the whole Christian eschatology is that we are saved not by works, but by faith and by grace. And when he keeps making these comments about that he's got to do things and he's trying to get into heaven and he doesn't think he's going to get into heaven, it's kind of strange. I like the fact that he's wearing his faith on his sleeve, and a lot of people have commented, and we've talked about this on the show about him. After the shooting and the near-death experience,
Yep.
It's had a profound effect in him religiously. But somebody needs to get close to him that is more, I don't want to say more, that may not be the right term, maybe give him some spiritual guidance on what faith is and what salvation is, because that's what being Christian is. He did make some comments we'll get into during his visit to the Knesset, and I'll just say it now, that way we can skim through it. Mark Levin says he's the first Jewish president, and then he makes the comment about being thankful for Kushner for his daughter's conversion to Judaism. And I'm like, okay, I understand you're sitting there in the Israeli Knesset and you just about ready to go sign a peace deal, but these are typically at odds with the Christian eschatology. That eschatology means, basic belief structure. Anyway, that's all. Just want to throw that in there.
Yep. Here's the other part from today. I haven't listened to it, and I want to see what the rest of the audience thinks.
And this week, it's IVF. Oh, I want to thank you so much for that, Mr. President. I saw on an airplane the other day, you said that you didn't believe that you were going to get to heaven. You're doing God's work here. You've made peace in the Middle East, which is beyond anybody's imagination. And now you're giving millions of Americans a chance to have babies. And you're doing this while the government is locked down by the Democrats. But this administration has not stopped working for the American people. And that's because of your energy, your commitment, your vision. And I want to thank you for allowing me to be part of it.
Yeah, we're not going to get any comments from him. I just thought that was interesting. The administration is answering back on the same deal that a lot of excuse me. I had a cough there. That a lot of Americans are thinking about coming out from there. So thoughts just on this one little topic, guys, either Space Shot or somebody else?
Well, I liked that he said that basically, you're being humble for one too, right? And so on the other one, the previous one you were reading, I did like the comment that Texas editor had underneath. It says, "One doesn't get to heaven by doing good works. There's nothing we can do righteous enough to get into heaven. We must believe that Jesus' blood on the Calvary was sufficient to cover our sins." Actually, this is a different comment than the one before that. So it's basically saying, we can't get into heaven by good deeds. Essentially, it's, your belief right there. Recognition of our fallen nature is profound truth that unites all humanity, as Romans 3:23 states, "For all have sinned and all fall short of the glory of God." And that's why I said before, like, doesn't that, if he is a Christian, his belief that Jesus did die on the cross, if he truly believes that, isn't that what does get you into heaven?
That
we'll
should be it.
Right. We'll find out between you and God.
But then again, like Tron was saying, okay, so is he playing around? Is it there? I think there's some of that in there. Yeah, absolutely.
Being cute.
Yeah, being cute. Before we get into the big stories over here, starting next week, X will be implementing a display of new information about the country of the account that it is based in. So now you got to figure out if they're American or not. So that's one thing I think that's going to be very helpful if you're going to find out a lot of these big Twitter stars are actually international, not even American. Thoughts? Anybody?
How many are we going to see from Ukraine, Rdoc?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no big deal. Here's the other part of that. Barron Trump tipped for the top job at TikTok, kind of their influencer style. Interesting things. But yeah, he seems he's going to have a social media presence. Tron, you okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, this is good. We saw him, there he is at the RNC. And again, he set up that Aiden Ross and somewhat responsible for that youth. And again, the youth on November 5th of 24 came out and voted. And they're this is a nice little generation here that we have here. So put him on TikTok. Why not? It's better than some Chinese version of Barron Trump. Can you imagine that?
Exactly. But go ahead.
I'm going to make this comment. Running a software development business is totally different than being somebody in charge of marketing or influencing content providers and whatever. Very, very different process. Totally different. Now he's where is he at in his education? I can't remember.
He's like first year, second year of college. Yeah,
first year, second year of college. And the family's smart. The family's loaded, but. We also know, in Hulk, you can go into more detail on this one, the connection to the entire network and the family and what's going on in terms of the control of social media and all that jazz. Yeah.
The whole Jared Kushner side. That side of the system. We don't have time for that conversation. Let's rip the Band-Aid off of this one. Mr. Space Shot, would you like to read there right at the top, please, for everybody here?
I would absolutely love to read that. Update. An indictment or indictments were returned to the court. No names were announced. A red folder that could contain arrest warrants was handed to the judge by Sullivan. A red folder that could contain arrest warrant or warrants was handed to the judge by Sullivan, the lead prosecutor. Did you say a red folder? Gee, can you remind the folks why a red folder is so interesting?
Tron, why is this red folder important?
I don't know. It was from 5 years ago. If you can hold on to that red folder for that long, that's fantastic. But we've seen these red folders before, and now we need to see some freaking action. John Bolton and Comey's not enough. Let's get some more under the belt there.
Yeah,
that's right. Right. CIA director.
You put this out. You did this, Mr. Space Shot. Should I play it, or you want to ad-lib it? What's in the video?
I mean, it's right there in the title. You don't need to go a minute and a half. So John Bolton indicted. 18 counts, 8 transmission of national defense information, and 10 counts of retaining national defense information. That's a former national security advisor, right? And seems like all these guys were doing it. Biden was doing it. Bolton, who else, right? Biden had him on the Corvettes. This guy had him in his house in Bethesda. What do you got?
Well, you got to remember, John Bolton was the one that wrote the book, and Trump didn't like it because he used classified materials, and they ruled it's okay, and you can't, blah, blah, blah. That's what happened there at the beginning. But over his storied career, he'd have these top secret stuff in his house, and he'd show friends, neighbors, and relatives these particular forms that's proven. The other thing we found out that Iran hacked his AOL account. Yeah, who knew that AOL was still around? But that was one of the many accounts that John Bolton ended up having on there. So there's multiple accounts they're going after. And I would just like to throw this out there. Just remember when not long after President Trump fired Bolton, this was him walking around Qatar. Remember that, Cutter?
Looking for some donations.
Yeah, just saying. Just saying. You got the mustache, just pointing out little pieces like that. And of course, we had to go there.
Updated. Yeah, look at the mustache.
The mustache is down.
And this is espionage, guys. This is under the Espionage Act. We're done.
Yes, I think I got some more of that info coming up later, a little bit in there. Charges, liaison activities on 4 times, counts 2, 8, and 10 and 16 documents that reveal a liaison, or how do you say that? Liaison and a covert action with liaison partners in the country. So they don't say exactly, but they should have registered as a foreign agent over here. That's one thing that they're looking at over here. The liaison doctrine from the CIA that says that you can basically bypass all that statutory stuff here. And it says to show that hacked Bolton email, they attach a simple hacked documents. The FBI is alerted about the hack by Bolton's rep. Did Bolton and his rep lie to the FBI about the email contents? No investigation. Solid work, FBI. The only way to find out in 2025 how many other emails that were hacked that we don't know about are being used as leverage over NASA security personnel. So there's a whole bunch of them here. So as they're pointing out multiple accounts, and it seems like there's multiple people that got leverage on this. And just by reading the emails from John Bolton or some of the things that they're putting together. So this might get bigger because they're talking about persons 1 and 2 in here. And you know how the hops and the other bumps work, and it's going to probably just grow from there on. So that's that. Here's this, Mr. Space Shot. Read that for everybody.
Yay. Breaking. Supreme Court on Tuesday rejected an appeal from Alex Jones and left in place a $1.4 billion judgment against him over his description of the 2012 Sandy Hook hoax elementary school shooting as a hoax staged by crisis actors. Geez, unbelievable. Who would say something like that? I mean, that was totally on the up and up.
I don't know where he's going to get the $1.4 billion, though. Yeah, good luck. All right, so let's keep going. Talk about Supreme Court and some of the other things that we were talking about over here. This is the big thing. SCOTUS is on the brink of forbidding the consideration of race in congressional redistricting, dividing voters and representatives based on the color of their skin, and unconstitutional, simply racist. And Ketanji Brown just went to the mat with it. I got some clips I'm going to show you, but this is the map we're talking about. This 230-mile-long Democratic gerrymandering here is the challenge of what they're 230 miles way over here, all the way down to New Orleans, just to make sure they pick up the right vote over here. So this is what's being challenged to get to a more normalcy of doing these census with these particular voters in the districts itself. Democrats are a little panicky at what's happening here. Anybody want to make any comments before I play a couple little clips from Ketanji Brown? Oh my God, she's dumb.
I'm just guessing that those gerrymandering areas probably follow the interstate, right? And then you, of course, have the more rural areas away from these areas. So inner cities is, what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, just make sure we pick up the 3 big Democratic cities in any particular state. That's the big thing. They're probably connect the dots here. We're going to start right here. This is the first clip that I ran by, and I was surprised that she actually stops this guy from talking.
Jackson. Wait, so can I just ask, why is that not a compelling state interest to identify areas in which that problem is occurring?
Your Honor, of course, as this court recognized in SFFA, states can remedy intentional.
No, I'm not talking about the remedy. I'm talking about
identify.
Identify.
Of course.
All right. So if I'm right that Section 2 is about identifying the problem and then requiring some remedy, I don't understand why your answer to Justice Kagan's question about is this a compelling state interest is no. The answer is obviously yes, that you have an interest in remedying the effects of racial discrimination that we identify using this tool. Whether you go too far in your remedy is another issue, right?
Your Honor, I think step 0 in all of these cases, it was certainly step 0 in the Robinson litigation, is the plaintiffs came in and said, we want another majority black district.
I thought they came in and said, we are not receiving equal electoral opportunity because our votes are being diluted.
Which is the same way of saying we deserve a second
No,
majority
it's not,
black
because that, again, just trust me on this. The second electoral or second district is a remedy that one could offer for a problem that we've identified. And the whole Robinson litigation was about identifying the problem. Is this really happening? In many, many Section 2 cases, the court says, you're wrong, you're fine. There is not an electoral opportunity being denied to you, go away. In this case, the court said, I see. I'm looking at the factors. I appreciate what you're saying. You've proven that we have this problem. And so the next question is, how do we go about remedying it?
Right. And the problem, Justice Jackson, that the Middle District identified was not intentional discrimination. And in fact, I think
Why
when
do
I
you
hear
need
my...
intentional discrimination to remedy a problem like the one that I've identified?
Because if you're going to use race the way that the Robinson appellants want the court to use race in drawing a second majority minority district, you've got to have a compelling interest.
Thank you.
And Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice.
Thank you, counsel.
Don't be wrong. Gonna prove her wrong right there. Because, you know, being correct and is racist over here. Here's the other part of it, where she explains and expounds upon her idea of why these people need to be held in a special class. Because black people are handicapped.
I guess I'm thinking of it, of the fact that remedial action, absent discriminatory intent, is really not a new idea in the civil rights laws. And my kind of paradigmatic example of this is something like the ADA. Congress passed the Americans with Disabilities Act against the backdrop of a world that was generally not accessible to people with disabilities. And so it was discriminatory in effect because these folks were not able to access these buildings. And it didn't matter whether the person who built the building or the person who owned the building intended for them to be exclusionary. That's irrelevant. Congress said the facilities have to be made equally open to people with disabilities if readily possible. I guess I don't understand why that's not what's happening here. The idea in Section 2 is that we are responding to current day manifestations of past and present decisions that disadvantage minorities and make it so that they don't have equal access to the voting system, right? They're disabled. In fact, we use the word disable in Milligan. We say that's a way in which you see that these processes are not equally open.
Yeah, they're disabled because they're black, and we need to have a special voting district for them because they're disabled.
Is that why we have all those handicapped spots everywhere? Is that for the African Americans that can walk fine? They're disabled because the judge said so.
I mean,
that's
pretty
insane.
Tron, read this last little quote. We won't play it, but just read that quote right there.
Yeah, a little quote there. If these were white Democrats, there's no reason to think they would have a second district. What is happening here is their argument is because these Democrats happen to be black, they get a second district. If they were all white, we all agree they wouldn't. That is literally the definition of race subordinating traditional principles.
Yeah, so if they were, because they're basically saying the white people don't vote for the black Democrats. Oh, really? Well, if you're a white Democrat, you don't vote for the black Democrat because you don't like their policies. They're saying that's racist.
I mean, dude, one would almost say that, you know, what she said was completely racist. She essentially said African American people can't vote or don't have access to voting as much as white people. And like, so that just dumbfounds me. Like, you know, remember before about, you know, is it the thing with the DMV? It's like, oh, they can't get IDs. They don't know where the DMV is. They don't know how to get on the internet. It's like, well, can't you go to your local school? Yeah, right. Can't you go to your local school and vote or whatever?
Black people in the Bronx don't know how to use computer because they don't know what a computer is. I mean, this is insane that the way they try to shape this.
They got Xbox Live and PlayStation, but they don't know how to use the internet. What the hell are we talking about?
Right.
So
libtard is the actual in all of this. Actually,
you're roboting pretty bad there, sir.
It is red.
And it says white Democrats are not voting for black candidates, whether they're Democrats or not. Well, yeah, I agree with you because you guys are crazy. Some of the states that are lining up over here, Indiana just turned over their districts. Yeah, good luck, Democrats. What else do we got over here?
Wow.
So now if we play over here on this side, you can kind of see the areas where a lot of these are just going to be blue over here. I ran by this little clip over here. I'm going to play in a quick second here of just areas they're talking about the large voting areas if they redid these districting. But there's a lot more cancel out over here. This video, I played this when I did the show the other day or whatever, some coffee. But here's that same video again, guys. Pay attention.
Actually represents pretty accurately, mathematically, how the country's divided over the question of the presidency. But if you look at this is what the party pickups would be for congressional districts. Republicans, 5. Missouri, 1. North Carolina, 1. Ohio, 2 or 3. Indiana, 1 or 2. Florida, still discussion down there, but that could be another gold mine for them if they tipped it even further their way. Kansas, 1. New Hampshire, 1. And Nebraska. Democrats, Utah, California, Maryland. Look at this. If you offset California and Texas, Missouri and Utah, North Carolina and Maryland, everything left over is an advantage to the Republicans. And don't forget, the Supreme Court is considering what could really be the end of the Voting Rights Act, which would protect minority groups. So you don't have a state that's half black, for example, that elects only one congressional member and everybody else goes to the Republicans that would represent that population in some ways. So if that is gutted, Democrats could lose 19 seats. This would be a huge amount. But this is also a measure of how much the White House is concerned about this, because Donald Trump knows if the Democrats get the House again, there could be new investigations just like...
Yeah, we know. 19 seats, possibly more. I've heard as high as 22 just by some of these changes right before the midterm elections. I think they're panicking a little bit.
Hell yeah. We need that supermajority, bro. I mean, I've been dreaming of it, that we can get a supermajority at the end of this midterm. And just imagine all the things that he's having to write executive orders for, that in a couple of years, some next, say if it happens to be a Democrat gets in there, they could just cancel it off with a stroke of a pen. But if we can get a supermajority in both, he can stop passing these things as law. And I can think of quite a few things right off the bat that would be really good to get us going here. So let's keep our fingers crossed on this. I know it's a long shot, but it's, with the way they're redistricting this stuff and the way people are waking up now, and the way these people are being exposed and the NGOs are being defunded and exposed, we got a real good shot at this thing.
Exactly. Here, I ran by this. I thought this was really interesting here. What else Ketanji Brown was involved in too? I didn't expect this whatsoever. Mr. Space Shot, would you read everything about this?
Oh, I would love to. Ketanji Brown Jackson is going viral for being stupid. Again, you don't hear that every day about a Supreme Court justice, do you? In 2018, she dismissed the MH370 case, ruling an incorrect venue, despite Philip Wood being a citizen and Boeing being an American company. The U.S. ran a covert operation on the plane, and she became a SCOTUS judge.
Not sure about that. Go ahead and read it.
On November 21st, 2018, multi-district litigation, MDL, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson dismissed all pending wrongful death cases arising from the disappearance of Flight MH370 on forum non-convenience or whatever grounds. 1. The court concluded that Malaysia was an adequate and available forum for the cases, and that a balancing of the private and public interest factored weighed in favor of Malaysia as the more convenient forum. Although Boeing and a few U.S. plaintiffs and passengers were parties in the MDL cases, the court was, quote, hard-pressed to find that the interests of the United States outweighed, quote, what is, at its core, a Malaysian tragedy.
Yeah, so the plane that disappeared that everybody sees on the videos with the orbs, and yeah, that plane, yeah. Just like, what? Okay, I didn't expect that, but that's in the news. For this one here. What else we're going? So Trump made this comment because he's waiting for decisions out of the Supreme Court. And
are not allowed to use what other people use against us. There's no defense. It'll be a disaster for America. That's why I think I'm going to go to the Supreme Court to watch it. I've not done that, and I had some pretty big cases. I think it's one of the most important cases ever brought, because we will be defenseless against the world. Okay. Are not allowed to use what.
Anybody want to guess what number of cases won if he wins the one against the tariffs? Anybody want to guess? How
18.
many he's won in a row?
16. 16,
17.
18. No.
17. Yes.
No.
If he wins this next one about the tariffs, he's won 16 already. The next one is 17. He's 16-0 right now and hasn't lost a challenge to the Supreme Court yet.
He gets one of those belts from the WWE, right? He gets
Oh, and check this one out. Speaking of that, our favorite letter there. I was looking at a message Wheezy sent me after the show yesterday. She was talking about President Trump's couple little speeches he made, and she mentioned how $17 trillion is being invested in America. Just a coincidence, again. That stupid number, right?
No, I got some of those coming too. What else do we got? Hey, I thought this was interesting. Everybody remembers that Philippine story that we're talking about? That Smartmatic and those guys got tied up to, where they did a couple of elections down in there in the Philippines, and Philippines got pissed because they lost the wrong election, and they arrested these guys and talking about money laundering and all that shit. It was like 6-7 months ago, but the DOJ, a federal prosecutor in Miami, has indicted Smartmatic, no, not in the Philippines, here in the United States, and its parent company, SGO Corporation Limited, on charging of conspiracy to bribe foreign officials and money laundering.
Whoa. So you got Smartmatic now under investigation or under indictment, and you have Dominion, as you had pulled up in a story last week. Dominion was sold, right, to Republican guy. And then that Republican guy who bought Smartmatic said, yeah, I want to back paper ballots.
And drop all the cases. I'm just saying, this is the DOJ, Southern District in Florida. They're charging down there. And if anybody's keeping score, we got Virginia doing 2 indictments. Bolton was out of Maryland. And then we've had 4 grand juries seated at the end of August and 2 this week also. But nothing of anything out of the Southern District of New York or Southern District of Florida has been exposed yet. So it's getting interesting, folks. As long as we're keeping score, right?
Loving it.
Where else are we going? Where else are we going?
I'm loving it.
I want to throw Obama's over here supporting the California redistricting for November 4th. He's doing the shtick out there, and of course everybody else is. I went and looked at the numbers. Registers in the southern part of California, San Diego area have returned the numbers, and Gavin Newsom is winning by 1% so far. So we'll see what happens. We've got until November, so a couple more weeks for California to figure out what the hell they're going to do or whatever. So that's happening. Long as they're in California, really quick, 13 Los Angeles employees have been charged with felony grand theft for allegedly stealing more than $437,000 in state unemployment records for COVID and all those. So Attorney General over there is definitely making a difference over there and charging people, getting a lot of this stuff done. So I wish he was here in 2018 when they went through the LA City's office and arrested a bunch of those people for big giant money laundering and that old China connection where they're doing that big giant building in Los Angeles, and the Chinese wanted to come in and build a big giant stadium, and they were flowing money all over the place. Yeah, whatever happened to that investigation? I don't know, but that did happen. All right, where else are we going? Okay. Now we've got the Congress thing all going on, and Speaker Johnson has been offering Jeffries and the rest of the guys, if they want to come argue this thing with the ADA for Medicare for the illegals, let's go down to the floor. Let's have a discussion about it. They don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. So here at this point, they just want to keep everything shut down, and they're not really moving anything. And of course, Schumer shut down. They've voted again for like the 9th time or whatever, and they're not going to open up anything. So it still seems we're in this stalemate where they want to keep it closed, but the boss is happy that it's actually closed because he wants to start marking stuff up with Doug Vogt. We'll get to him in a second. But comments from anybody here about how they're playing these games back and forth? You miss Congress?
It's happening. It's happening on both sides too, right? You have the guy who was basically the Republican coming up to, I think it was Jeffries the other day, and said, "Hey, why don't you sign on? I got some Democrats here. You could sign on." He's like, "Oh, you're just trying to do this ploy." So it's this big gag back and forth. But like you showed last week, President Trump's getting a bunch of his picks in, right? And so I'm liking that.
All of them at once. All of them. I did run by this because a lot of people were talking about how they were going to fund the government, keep military paid, and some of these other people.
Look, my understanding of this is they have every right to move the funds around, duly appropriated dollars from Congress to the Department of Defense. There were some R&D accounts that had not been spent, and that's my understanding is that's the money that's being used to pay the troops right now. If the Democrats want to go to court and challenge troops being paid, bring it, okay? I'm grateful for a commander-in-chief who understands the priorities of the country, the necessity of national defense, and the urgency that we all feel and have voted for 8 times. Republicans have voted in Congress 8 times now between House and Senate to fund the troops and pay federal workers in all these essential jobs and agencies because we understand the necessity of that. Meanwhile, the Democrats voted 8 times to block their paychecks. I'm grateful we have a president who is willing to step up and do the right thing. Thank you all so much.
So that's that side of the story itself. And of course, everybody's getting hurt, and they're on both sides of the aisle because there are people that are government funded here at this point. But then again, Trump's talking about a wealthy donor, the name who you all know, offered to cover the military. I'll give you $10 billion a month if you come up with a short. That was pretty cool. And then of course somebody put
$10 billion.
Maybe that guy. Just a couple of stocks. I mean, remember he's the $1 trillion pay package.
Where's our Doge checks? Where's our Fort Knox gold?
I want the live stream at least, dude. Come on. We didn't even get a freaking Comey mugshot, dude. What the hell? I feel gypped.
I was going to say Marian Adelson, but it's a guy, not a girl.
Her name will come back up here in a little bit.
Exactly. The other thing we need to throw out here, because they're starting to challenge John Fetterman over here for saying positive things about the Republican Party.
I'm the only Democrat in my family. I grew up in a conservative part of Pennsylvania, and I grew up and I know and I love people that voted for President Trump. But they are not fascists. They're not Nazis. They're not trying to destroy the Constitution, those things. And that's part of another thing. I refuse to call people Nazis or fascists, or I would never compare anybody to Hitler and those things. And now that kinds of extreme rhetoric is going to continue.
So Democrats are attacking him for saying the things that we would all say, I think. And now he's being challenged for his next election cycle out there, and they're putting a lot of money to have Fetterman removed from Pennsylvania.
'Cause he dreams in red, can't find a Fetterman. I mean, how are there 2 people on the planet that look like this guy? Because I'm telling you, his nose was not that straight when he first came out. But yeah, and the only thing I could think of when he kept saying, well, when I grew up and I kept growing, and I'm like, and that thing on your neck kept growing and growing. But it's great, though, that we have somebody on the other side, like that he has to be the voice of reason for these people, right? It's like that's how out of control it is, that you have to have this guy say, listen, I know these people, I know a lot of them, but they're not Nazis. I would never say, hey, this guy's like a Hitler. And, unfortunately, that whole thing gets thrown around too much. Just like the whole, racism stuff was getting thrown around a few years ago, and probably still to a certain extent. It's like when you call everything racist, it's like true racism, kind of gets diluted. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but you get what I'm saying. If you call everything racist when true racism doesn't really get its fair lick. And there are true racists out there.
Quick note over there, prayers for Mike Patriot, who says, just stop by to say hi, let you all know I'm in the hospital until at least Wednesday. I have a bacterial infection that went septic. I was a very sick boy. Yeah, dude, get healthy, bro. Don't be checking out early. We got to see how this plan ends, dude. But thank you for stopping by, sir.
Yeah, big prayers for Patriot Mike. Great friend of the show there. And hopefully you pull through and feel better every minute, my man.
And Dal, thank you for the gifted sub earlier in the show. I appreciate it. I just had forgotten to address that over there. So yeah, we'll do this because Krill came over. They handed over the JFK assassination things. I just sucked Gork at it, and there was a difference between what Trump released in 2019 and compared to what this guy has. And it did a lot of confirming what that was out there, that there was a second shooter, grassy knoll, all those types of things we all talked about. And then it was really our own CIA that was really pushing a lot of this. But again, we don't know the whole truth itself, but that's basically what I could put together. And there's not much difference between the two. Does anybody want to put anything else out there on this? I mean, it's a good show.
I got the file in Russian, and it's good that Paulina Luna allegedly dropped it in original form, which is Russian. So I tried to have ChatGPT, translate a little bit of it, but told me I needed to wait till tomorrow because I'm not paying extra. I'm not paying anything for it, so I only get a few questions a day.
Yeah, so that was happening. What else do we got? And then, of course, Tron, he's dropping stuff like this. Did you see this today?
Yeah, man, this guy's been full force. And like I said, I'm trying to figure out, objectively from a 40,000-foot viewpoint, what's happening here. And if this was ever going to happen, this is the way it's going to do it. I mean, think about it. Boston, the peace in the Middle East. You have this Kirill come out. Again, the sum of all fears kind of leaches into this timeline. The back channels are important, and whether Kirill was part of the back channel or not, he's now that guy. He's an outside operator who's sort of connected with an Anna Paulina Luna. Whatever you make of that, that's fine. And again, this alliance is a good thing. But let's just see which direction this goes in. We don't want so much of this, quote unquote Russian sympathizers. Putin is not necessarily the greatest character out there. And but again, we welcome the alliance. Whatever way we have to cure this planet of this criminal disease known as deep state, let's do it, because it happens worldwide. It's entrenched everywhere. And if we can get a little help from our friends, let's do it. But again, I'm going to wait a little bit and just kind of see what happens with this.
Exactly. It's fun and entertaining. That's where we should take it now. So on the other side of that, ran by this little clip over here. Listen to what they say.
That is tough for the conspiracy theorist, Jessica. Trump is literally on camera about 17 times a day. The conspiracy theorist, Jessica. Trump is literally on camera about 17. Conspiracy theorist, Jessica. Trump is literally on camera about 17 times a day.
Yeah, well, he's not dead or tired. But
Yeah, 17, huh? That number, huh?
Like the previous presidency.
Yeah, exactly. What else do we got? James Watkin of 8chan fan. He's got a problem with Acun Top. It's been deplatformed. He can't get somebody to host it, blah, blah, blah. You can go to Acun Top or 8chan.net, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so just letting you know, Chan's over there having problems and they don't want to support certain people there. I throw that one back out. Clinton Foundations came out. They don't come out that often. It's more of a rah post, but he is reminding everybody that he has a court case on December 1st in front of the U.S. tax court. He says you should be following him with the revelations that have come out now and future revelations that will be coming out here very shortly. Things that he's pointing at. So Clinton whistleblowers back at it again. Saying you should be paying attention to me because stuff is going to be happening not too much longer coming up here. It's going to be interesting. 2 cases, pretty much Clinton Foundation and their whole thing, and then probably some Dr. Fauci and some AIDS vaccine with the global initiative with Clinton somewhere. Somewhere in there, I think it's going to land. Comments?
Yeah. Seems like they always go to court around December, huh? I mean, that's when they had their little hearing in Congress. But very interesting, and I love their work for sure. So definitely follow these guys. The financial hitmen, or what is it, bounty hunters. They got the goods on the Clinton Foundation, guys. And there's a lot of goods to be gotten.
Yep, pay attention to them. What else do we got over here? You threw this at me. What was this? I think this is
Director one?
Yes. Director Mike Morrell's.
Is that the Solomon post?
Yes.
No. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. That's interesting.
Let me play this, and we'll just kind of go from there. Unless you want to say something about it.
No. Go ahead.
A short while ago, Just the News obtained this email. This is a very important email. It comes from the former CIA director, Mike Morrell. Yes, the guy that organized that letter from the 51 intelligence professionals who tried to fake you into thinking that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation when it wasn't. It is between him and John Brennan, one of the signatories. You know who John Brennan is? He was Obama's CIA director, right? He's the guy that told Obama, hey, Hillary Clinton is doing a dirty trick on Donald Trump called Russia collusion. Well, this is just before the presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Hunter Biden's laptop is flinging out there. This is what Mike Morrell, former CIA director, tells his successor, John Brennan. Hey, sign this letter because I'm, quote, trying to give the campaign, particularly during the debate on Thursday, a talking point. to push back on Trump on this issue. A man with a security clearance, a man with the title of CIA director, knew that he wasn't creating an intelligence product, a mere civic duty with 51 people. He was trying to create a political moment. Damning evidence. We'll try to find out if Congress has this letter, but this is a very important.
The other thing that leading around this particular topic is earlier in the week, they're saying that Tulsi of the DNI, who they're kind of tailing that Arctic frost investigation, Jack Smith and all those other guys that they're going after, has sent over not an indictment, but an endorsement for prosecution for Barack Obama is what the water cooler people are saying over there. And it's up to the DOJ to make decisions as itself that the CIA, Radcliffe spent a few months pulling the information together along with Kash Patel and the FBI to push that information over to the DNI so she can correlate it and give it to the DOJ. So that's a roundabout way about what's going on with that one there. Big press conference in the White House. We'll pick up just a minute of this thing, but might as well throw some Jack Smith in there.
But what they did was criminal. Deranged Jack Smith, in my opinion, is a criminal. And I noticed his interviewer was, I think that was Weissman. And I hope they're going to look into Weissman, too. Weissman's a bad guy. And he had somebody in Lisa, who was his puppet, worked in the office really as the top person. And I think that she should be looked at very strongly. There was tremendous criminal activity having to do. If we don't have fair elections in this country, we're not going to have a country. And I've said it from the beginning, fair elections and borders. And we need also fair press, because if you don't have fair press, it's very tough. And we've got the strongest border of anybody. Nobody has a border. We have a border where the numbers just came out again.
All right, that's about all we're going to get. But I just wanted to throw a little bit of there because they're going after Jack Smith and a whole bunch of other people there as we check into some of this information that's coming out here. Just a little tidbits I pulled from that that meeting they did with Kash Patel, because there's a lot of things that they covered there, but just some key points to pay attention to.
I almost forgot this one. It took you, sir, 2 weeks to get the Abbey Gate bomber. Joe Biden had 4 years to look for him. You got him in 2 weeks, thanks to the interagency effort by the FBI and the CIA, went to Pakistan, and now 13 brave warriors who were senselessly murdered because of disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. They have justice, their families have a peace of mind, and we're going to continue to find the others, Mr. President. On behalf of the FBI, sir, I just want to thank you. Thank you very much, Chris.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting that he only took him 2 weeks to get that. I'm going to pile through some of these now. This one is an interview after this that I came across that I want to share with you guys. 2 minutes.
Nonprofit money, and maybe to some of those foreign enemies, some of those people in Iran and Venezuela and Russia. What are we learning, and what can you tell us about this threat?
So look, the thing I can tell you is that money doesn't lie. And the thing we're doing at the FBI is following the money. And thanks to President Trump, we now have Antifa designated, rightfully so, as a domestic terror organization. And we have had multiple investigations going on, not just in Portland, where we are mapping out the money, and we are using social media and the influencers that the president had here just this last week, because they're the ones on the ground getting us ground level intelligence, because law enforcement isn't able to enter these spaces, and these people are brave enough to do it. So we already have dozens of arrests of these individuals involved. But what we want to do is, as you pointed out, is someone is paying for this. These are organized acts of violence, fully funded by people who don't even live necessarily in these communities, showing up in dozens with the same placards, the same helmets, the same riot gear. Someone's paying for it, and we're on the verge of finding that out thanks to these new authorities.
Wow.
Yeah. Are you finding a substantial amount of crossover between Antifa groups and now what we are seeing as almost militant trans groups?
I think there's going to be some crossover for sure. But what that raises in my mind is a problem that I've been trying to tackle for a long time, which is social media is wildly out of control. I mean, our kids are allowed to go on these gaming platforms for fair purposes, gaming, but then unfortunately you have the child predators that go on these gaming platforms. You have Antifa that goes on these gaming platforms, and no one's overseeing them because our kids aren't monitored while they're on these platforms, and they're taking advantage of lawful use of these mechanisms to make basically an anarchist system that wants to take down the United States government. And that's why this threat is so real. And that's why we in this White House and this administration are so fervently tackling it.
That gets to the point on that. But yeah, radicalizing people over on social media, that's an edgy word. I think we were all kind of radicalized a little bit there. I mean, really? I'm just saying. Some key points out of that one. Also over here, he's given us a little bit more about these indictments, things to pay attention to.
These indictments that you've seen and the ones that you're going to see coming up here in this near future are just the beginning. But I have to remind the audience one thing. Everybody's like, it's 7 months. What have you guys been doing? Yeah. Well, they spent 20 years building this disease temple of corruption. It takes a little bit of time. This disease temple of corruption. Building this disease temple of corruption. Building this disease temple of corruption. It takes a little bit of time to defeat it and beat it down. And I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to look at the work the men and women of the FBI have done so far in these 7-8 months, and just imagine what we're going to do come the year end. These indictments.
So it says more are coming. This was from Dan Bongino, because he hasn't been out on the podcasting stuff or doing any of these since I went back and looked. June 4th was his last interview publicly. But war's ending and peace plans piling up, criminals being locked up by thousands, corrupt politicians and bureaucrats feeling the weight of Lady Justice, streets are getting cleaned, border secure, proud to be a small part of T27. God bless America and all those who defend her. And then this is Kash Patel giving a big giant thumbs up to Dan Bongino for his work. And
well, I'd love to be able to take credit for it, but I may have had one of the ideas, but there's two groups. There's one man who is responsible for Operation Summer Heat, and the architect is Deputy Director Dan Bongino. Yeah. He drew it up, he put out the mechanics, he went to the field, and he went 100% for these last 7 months. And the men and women of the FBI executed Deputy Director Bongino's Summer Heat operation. And Summer Heat, that's just a 3-month snapshot, by the way.
Yeah. Right.
That was only 3 months from June to September, so the numbers you just announced. We just released the numbers for the last 8 straight months of the FBI. And the number that people should take away more than anything as a result of this, because Summer Heat was our juggernaut that we used to kinetically operate in Memphis, in Chicago, in every major city, literally, in America. We have over 28,000 arrests year to date this year alone of violent offenders. 28,000.
That's amazing.
But just for people who don't know, to put that in perspective, last year to date, the Biden administration had 14,000.
Wow.
We're double.
Wow.
We're double. And that's because the failed policies of the Biden administration allowed these criminals to come in. And President...
We got what you're saying there, Mr. Kash Patel out there. Summer Heat, those 3-month period. They almost got 6,800 arrests and 2,200 firearms, 500 children identified. They did pretty damn good job cleaning up the streets. Comments from anybody?
Man, look at that pickup truck, dude. How much is that pickup truck worth right there? I mean, that's a lot of it too. And you gotta appreciate when Kash goes before Congress and all they want to talk about is, oh, you laid off all these people, you're probably not doing great. And he's like, yeah, well, look at these statistics.
Epstein.
Love it, though. Love it. Lots of good progress. And enough fentanyl to kill, the population 5 times over or something ridiculous like that?
Yeah, exactly. What else do we got? Little tidbits we could hurry through here. CNN was basically saying Bolton at one point was discovered having an AOL email account. He was writing notes to himself. It's a very serious national case. But basically they're saying that one was labeled about having weapons of mass destruction and about Allied airstrikes. Notes in his email for AOL, so no big deal. I just thought it was funny with some of the stuff in notes.
Before we go too far on that one, think about that for a second. He's writing himself emails like we know what Susan, I always get them wrong, Susan Rice or Sally Yates, whatever one of those two, who I always mix up, got it wrong, wrote herself an email.
Susan Rice did her email at the end, like the last day,
Yeah, saying how they wanted to do everything by the book and whatnot. But we also talked about emails in the drops, talking about how these people write themselves notes or drafts, right? And so let's just say, for example, we have a person in a hostile country, say Iran, right? And they know it's J Bolton at Outlook or AOL.com, and the password is Walrus Mustache or something like that. Whatever the password is, they both have it. John Bolton here in the United States can log into his thing, write himself a draft, and then just save it. and get offline. And then the person that's in Iran can also go on AOL, log into it, look at the draft, but then there's no message being sent. But we were showing that in the drops too. So I'm wondering if some of that was going on in there as well. I wouldn't discount that.
Yeah, I agree with you. That could be the other side of that one there. What else do we got here? We could skip that crap. Oh, ran by this one here. 15 billion in Bitcoin seized. Yes, coming from Director Kash Patel, one of the biggest financial fraudsters, takedown of the global criminal network on forced labor, money laundering, and deception. Yes. So evidently this group called the Butchering Pig, which was operating out of, I think, the Philippines or whatever. Well, anyways, they had a off-market private exchange that had all the money in there, and they basically recovered, what did they say? Recovered 127,000 Bitcoin and took it back. That's a lot of money, right, Mr. Rdoc? That's a crap load of money.
That's a lot. That's a lot of Bitcoin although Bitcoin price dropped. We're going to talk about some of that and what the Russians revealed and what happened in Ukraine, because there's some games being played, and I have some insider information on that. We'll cover it briefly, depending on the time situation.
So these are the group that were doing like the marriage scams and all the phone stuff that you see. That's this group doing a lot of that over like 10 years, and they took 15 billion worth of crypto. Long as we're talking about bad news over here, Letitia James, who was renting out those houses, is now under investigation for mortgage fraud. Her sister's kid is an OnlyFans deal that is staying in one of the houses that are over there, and is also a fugitive and has a problem with, what'd they say? Her grandniece, 21-year-old OnlyFans model, whatever, was charged with lying about a felony record while trying to buy a gun in 2023. She's barred from owning firearms due to the 2020 malicious wounding charge. So, yeah, she's done some bad stuff, and she's living in the house rent-free that supposedly Letitia James stays in as her primary residence.
Yeah, and we knew this. She was renting out her primary residence, but we didn't know it was her grandniece or whatever, who has, in another story I read, has a rap sheet a mile long, essentially. So yeah, I mean, hey, but you know, when Orange Man bad guys, you know, he overvalued Mar-a-Lago, and you know, the company, even though they took out a loan, he got it paid in full, and the company still wanted to do business. They were eager to do business with with President Trump. Meanwhile, you got this girl out here at her primary residence supporting this girl on the right here, flipping the money around, doing all sorts of crimes and whatnot. And Trump's the bad guy out of all this, so go figure.
Oh, just the weird shit that we see this week. What else do we got over here? Let's talk with a little bit of Darth Vader and who they are, because we're going to slash some things out of the budget, little pieces that are picked up from the big press conference.
So what we're doing, I mean, they call him Darth Vader, but he's actually a very nice person, Russell Vogt. But Russell Vogt is really terminating tremendous numbers of Democrat projects. There's not only jobs. I mean, the project in Manhattan, the project in New York, it's billions and billions of dollars that Schumer has worked 20 years to get. It's terminated. Tell him it's terminated, Jennifer. All right. So what we're doing.
That was that little bit of him himself. Let's hear it right from the guy.
10 people, we're talking 1,000 people, we're talking 10,000 people.
We're definitely talking thousands of people. Much of the reporting has been based on kind of court snapshots, which they've articulated is in the 4,000 number of people. But that's just a snapshot, and I think it'll get much higher. And we're going to keep those riffs rolling throughout this shutdown. Because we think it's important to stay on offense for the American taxpayer and the American people in getting a government that, if there's an opportunity to have less bureaucracy, and think of Green New Deal programs at the Department of Energy, think the Minority Business Development Agency at Commerce that divvies up business grants on the basis of race, think environmental justice at EPA, think about CISA. CISA was an area that we riffed, which was participating in censorship of the American people. We want to be very aggressive where we can be in shuttering the bureaucracy, not just the funding, but the bureaucracy, that we now have an opportunity to do that. And that's where we're going to be looking for.
Yeah, the Consumer Protection Group over there was also ruled against that. Yeah, Trump has full authority to kick all those guys out. There are too many China hanging out over there. What else do we got? Yeah, he just dropped 4,000 reduction in force. So you have to wait 60 days. So they'll be gone for good is what we're pointing out over there. Department of Education fires another 20%, which is about 460 employees out the door. Ran by this over here for, if I'm understanding this correctly, FHA loan locks to immigrants without permanent residency, including H-1B visa holders. The percentage of loans to locks over there, which at the end of May 2025 was at damn near 6. There's 5% there. And then the new one numbers are coming out in May 2025 where they're not accepting these loans. Are down way down below. So this guy's pointing out that all those illegal immigrants are using your money to pay for those loans, which they've refinanced and used the money from Medicare to pay it off right until Trump got into office. Everybody remember that?
Oh yeah, all
That's
the
crazy.
extra benefits, all the extra benefits these people were getting, and they got to work on top of it, and yeah, free meals and all sorts of stuff on the dime of the people.
Creates a subprime. It's just like the subprime mortgage bubble that happened, 20 years ago that we had to bail out in 2008. It's the same situation. We throw it through the banks, which can never fail. We'll never let them fail, and it'll all ultimately be a burden on the U.S. taxpayer at some point in time. But it makes the economy okay.
Good.
Oh my
Yep.
God! I'm watching. Am I roboting? Because I'm watching that thing go
A
red
little.
and orange. Jeez. Okay. So we're getting spam attacked or whatever. So yeah, they expect the bubble at some point in time in the future. The bubble will burst. Okay. But right now, for the last 4 years, the economy was being propped up compared to Europe because these loans were being issued. The banks were funding it. The construction companies were building houses. Home buying was going on, and the economy was moving forward because that's a basic input, or one of the lower level inputs. Home construction activity funds a lot of different activities all throughout the country, and we basically financed immigration, illegal immigration, getting housing, and the bubble will eventually flow through the banks and burst on the taxpayer.
Yay. Space Shot, read that for everybody. I thought this is interesting.
Okie dokie. Fannie Mae has provided $31.9 billion to home builders, including $8.8 billion. So these are all billions, guys. To Lennar Homes, $7 billion to D.R. Horton, and $5.5 billion to Pulte.
Read the numbers.
I will. And among others, a total of, see how I did that? A total of 1,414,000 empty lots. So explain that to me, Hulk. So they provided money to home builders, and where these, so 8.8 billion to Lennar Homes for 520,000 lots. What does that mean exactly?
You're
roboting a little bit to me, so I don't know.
Robot. I heard the robot. I thought it was me, but
okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
1,400,000 empty lots, basically. Space Shot means that we, like what I was saying, we helped convert land into homes for these home builders. Oh man, there I go. I crashed.
That was me.
That was you. That wasn't me.
That was just my screen going blank.
So it's the same situation. Just like in Arkansas with the Clintons, the Adva development scam with the cattle futures, they bought a bunch of plots of land. Somebody sells that land. Somebody buys up that land. Somebody sells it to the developers. The developers develop it, sells houses. Banks get the loans. The loans get funneled through Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or some other federal program and are guaranteed. And when the loan, then they are further tokenized, that may be securitized is the right word, into collateralized mortgage obligations that are then sold off the bank's books to certain lenders. And it's a whole big scam that, again, repeats the financial bubble that we saw in 2008. They just do it cyclically every 10, 15 years or so, and the bubble bursts and the taxpayers pay it. It's gone on for 40, 50 years now, easily.
Yeah, so that's that's happening again. As we get through these stories, what else do I got for you? Oh, I thought this was interesting. Space Shot, read this for everybody.
Okie dokie. Hopefully I'm not bleep-blopping too much here. The deeper you go into semiconductor supply chain, the less believable it becomes. TSMC, a company on a small island, produces over 90% of the world's most advanced chips. TSMC relies on Dutch company ASML for EUV lithography machines, and it depends on German company Carl Zeiss, the only firm in the world capable of making mirrors precise enough for ASML's requirements. The light source for ASML's EUV machines is produced by a single company in San Diego. The photoresists used to print transistor patterns are produced by Japanese films like JSR and Tokyo Oka Kogyo. The ultra-pure quartz needed to make silicone wafers comes entirely from a single mine in Spruce Pine, North Carolina. The copper and rare earth materials inside chips are mined and refined across Chile, Congo, and China. Specialized gases used in chip making, like neon and fluorine, come largely from Ukraine and Japan. The design blueprints for these chips often come from American companies like NVIDIA, AMD, and Apple, which rely on software tools from U.S. firms like Synopsys and Cadence. Wow.
Remove any single piece and the whole system collapse. I thought that was an interesting breakdown.
We'll talk about some of those pieces in just a second. We get into the China trade war. It's not.
Wow. So you need all those different companies to make that stuff, huh? Shut up. This is great.
Yeah. A couple of little pieces here we want to throw in here.
Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
Republican talking points. Okay. So you guys all remember the officer, former chief Capitol Police, calls out Pelosi directly, says she repeatedly denied multiple requests and shows all the things that were denied, and then finally got
a video of her daughter.
Yeah, that too.
Plus the video of her daughter sitting there in the car with her as she denies.
and dude, what about the friggin' and so I was on a show earlier today on the roundtable, and it was talking about the letter. I remember there was a letter from the DOD or Trump or whatever, but I also remember the counter letter from Muriel Bowser saying, to be clear, we are not requesting National Guard assistance, essentially. We do not want it. Didn't Trump offer, and there was a letter.
Yes, because you have to offer it to the city for them to accept it. So they offered, but they never requested. So they actually denied it. There is a denial letter from Bowser's office that Trump keeps talking about. Might as well talk about Slippity over here because Turtlehead had a fall.
Kidnapping them?
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Can't get up.
Ooh, one more time.
Life alert.
Angels.
Tron, I love it. Let's keep going.
This is why we need term limits, guys. First it's going to be Mitch McConnell, then it's going to be Grassley falling down with a whole pocket full of cherries and corn and popcorn, all kinds of stuff. Term limits, dude. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Grassley, and McConnell.
Yeah, they're all done this next session anyways. I'm going to leave this video for everybody here, but this is kind of a super cut of Glenn Beck going to the TPUSA, where he started getting all the questions asking about Israel this and Israel that, and, you know, you America first and blah, whatnot. It also has his response in there. You guys can go take a look at it a little bit later, but just wanted to drop that for everybody here because that's a pretty interesting thing, and I'm not sure exactly where to put Glenn Beck on supporting Israel, if he's America first or Israel first. I know he's America first, but that whole Israel question he's trying to deal with here at this point. So that was a big thing happening over on his side of the thing. The other thing I wanted to show you too, and I thought this was really cool, is what Glenn Beck wants to do. So here, pay attention to this. I thought this is a really good idea.
And I want to show you just a quick clip of George AI.
May the grace of God be upon us all, now and forevermore. They have no right to tax us like this. They're robbing our freedom. Soldiers, listen to me now. conflict, the more glorious the triumph.
So which part of it do you want to hear about?
Next year, you are going to be able to have, beginning next year, you're going to be able to have a one-on-one conversation with the founders in your language, speaking the way you speak. What George AI is, there's two parts of it. One will take you through all of the artifacts, so you know exactly. You want to do a paper on life, pro-life, abortion. Did the founders ever talk about that? Yes, they did. But you won't know how to find that. But we have now put it into its own self-contained system with virtual electric fence around it, so it cannot distort. It must remember all of it. The problem with AI, the reason why it hallucinates, is it can only remember so much. So it takes the beginning of a story, the end of the story, and it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it kind of happened this way. We have to have it memorize word for word. So now you'll be able to take any document, anything from the founders. You can translate it into any language. You can say, I need it to explain this to an 8-year-old. And it is absolutely accurate. In 2026, I'm going to be introducing something that we're working on that goes a step beyond that.
I don't know what the other side of that is, but I thought that was cool.
A little scary because history is never absolutely accurate.
Exactly.
That's the problem with history, is it's all in the eye of the beholder and the bias with which it is written, and history is constantly being rewritten. And if you look at history books that were written closest to the date when things happen to compared to now, they are vastly different. So,
well, even the coupons told us to go get a history book written 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or 50 years ago.
That's why you got to dig, meme, and pray. Tron always says, dig, meme, and pray. How much we dig, how much we hive mind collect, we are more powerful than this AI. Many times more powerful than this AI. Our brains can process billions and billions of information simultaneously faster than the speed of light compared to AI. AI is nowhere near catching up, but it helps our brains process information faster, but we still have to filter it.
Exactly. All right. Ran by this clip because I didn't know the whole thing about the Smith-Mundt Act and what really lit off the whole thing. I didn't know about this. We all know about the litigation and the action that happened over in Congress, but I missed this part of the story.
The Obama administration passed the NDAA in 20, whatever it was.
15.
Where they legalized propagandization of the American people.
Right.
This came out of the most innocuous issue. We had this propaganda station, radio and television, called Radio TV Marti, and it was beamed at Cuba, right? The only thing the Cubans really care about watching from us is baseball. So we would broadcast a lot of baseball games. But the way it was being broadcast from Florida, there was this little strip of land on the Gulf Coast in southern Florida where they could pick it up, but only with like Dish Network, I think is what it was. Well, that's illegal because it's a propaganda station and Americans can't watch American propaganda. And so rather than like not broadcast it anymore or move the satellite or whatever, they decided we'll change the law to make it easier and legal to propagandize the American people. So now the government can produce any propaganda that it wants and foist it on the American people. It's like, thank you, Barack Obama. Now I don't even know if the news that I'm reading is real or not. Thank you.
That is so insane.
Thoughts on that one? I thought that was interesting take on that one.
It makes you wonder why Trump never, fixed that yet. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, so long as we're talking about propaganda or whatnot as we get to the last couple of stories here. So we've had big issues going along in Chicago. We've had shootings and immigrants running into ICE agents. Just an entire crazy scene going down in there. They're just short of doing the Insurrection Act, some of the things that I've seen out there. But we got to talk about the organizers because, this is just, it's normal Americans. They're protesting ICE agents and all these.
All right. Well, Hulk's being funny. I want to thank News Treason. Drop the $20 Rumble rant. Thank you for that, Dave. Appreciate it, brother. Great show. If you guys are not following News Treason, definitely give them a follow.
There, right? Because you're protesting there all the time. They even have more of those blow-up costumes that the ICE agents were spraying pepper.
Away.
So yeah, those pepper spray. So again, definitely bringing out a whole bunch of extra stuff to get ready for the Summer of Love. So yeah, feeding, all that sort of thing. And I go, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff to leave on the curb overnight, right? Well, they don't leave this stuff out here.
Thank you for the donation,
They take it off the
Kyle.
street
You're
over
awesome.
here. And they go down to the local storage public place over here. So you can see the little carts they got. They're carrying off their Antifa stuff. Oh, look, he dropped something over there. So these are their Antifa supplies. Not funded, guys. Those $1 million checks that are coming to Antifa, they just throw it out of the airplane in helicopters and people collect the money.
Look, they're going inside here.
Glenn Beck
You got
broke it
access
down to
right there.
Look at this.
many different branches they have.
They're literally going inside of here.
That's at the Publix or just a storage facility? It's
Storage facility.
Yeah.
What is this place?
One of the things also I was hearing, Hulk, I don't know if you have this, is there's
She's
been
also
like
saying, she's also saying you can't be here. It's, blah, blah, blah. I can't film. Get off the property. Go ahead.
I was hearing that there's been like 9 or 7 people that have died in ICE custody in just the last 3 days or something. That's not a good
I haven't heard
number.
of any deaths yet.
Oh yeah. And even a little girl, a young girl died the other day. It's becoming big news. Memphis is becoming a big issue too. I'm saying I haven't paid as close attention over here. This is real big news there in the States, but this news that is filtering over here, they're focusing on, of course, the liberal side. They're pushing that the ICE is causing these deaths, and that's being picked up over here in the EU.
Allegedly.
Well, no, there's dead people. The articles are there.
Yeah, the articles are there, dude. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're dead people.
No, I mean, it's once they're in custody, they have expired. Okay, the one girl had a medical issue or something. Her parents, she was like 16 years old, and she was taken away. And while she was in custody, she had some sort of medical episode and died. I mean, it's the article's just there. It's her name, the people, etc. Now, and the ICE people are on comment. They're commenting about this stuff. So I don't know if you guys are getting those stories in the States. I'll try to pull some up and pull some links. I just didn't know if you grabbed them for the show. Okay.
So on the other side of this is Glenn Beck said that the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, personally sent 3 agents to his home. This is over the video that we played last week in regards to the funding of George Soros and the Tides Foundation, that whole breakdown. So that video lit off and they went over and started asking questions and wanted wanted the information that he had and explained to him how difficult it is to track this stuff. And this is the way you have to do it, and laid it all out to them. So that was interesting that the FBI came over, started asking questions about that, about the George Soros network. So involving with Antifa, don't know, but those are other things we got to pay attention to. What else do we got? The left is doing the no kings thing on the 18th. This is Billy Crystal. No kings. In my opinion, it should be no kings but Christ. That's what my personal opinion is, but they're definitely pulling this thing out, and we'll see how many people show up to actually do these No Kings protest. Some of the interesting things, finding some of these people that are promoting this, the more I look at the Hands Off NYC poster for No Kings Day this Saturday, the more questions I have. The fact that the Communist Party of USA is listed as a co-sponsor is wild. So yeah. A lot of leftist organizations
Band
supporting
event,
this.
dude. It's like one of those events, where they have all the bands come and it's like a whole thing. And like, imagine this in 2025. This is absolutely insane. The No King just ended the peace in the Middle East. We're working on Ukraine and Putin now. I mean, what else can you ask for? I mean, I'm sorry it doesn't come from a half black, intellectual with the Saudi upbringing in the colleges and whatnot. But look at all this. Look at all this money, man. I mean, remember back in the day, Little League, we used to sell chocolate bars of, chocolate, candy and whatnot. I mean, look at this, man. This is fantastic. Where's the food? Where's the mobile, food trucks and whatnot? This is an event, and we have to pray for the safety. This might get nasty. This is their only chance as they're losing ammunition and their whole network's getting exposed. George Soros, NGOs, our tax money's funding the resistance. This is insane.
The other side of that, too, as long as we're talking about funding, here, we'll play this clip.
Breaking right now, as we just mentioned, narco-terrorists in Mexico are reportedly working in coordination with domestic extremist groups to place bounties worth thousands of dollars on the heads of federal immigration officers in Chicago.
So we heard about the bounties, but we didn't know that the leftist groups were working with these guys to place and work with the narco-terrorists to set up these bounties. So that's an interesting turn of events. We'll see what happens.
I'm reading on some of these deaths here just to follow up. 3 dead in 12 days. It's 3 in 12 days, not 10 or 12 in 3 days. And 22 since 2025 August. Or no, 2024 October, and 11 under the Trump administration. But some of these deaths in custody, one's a suicide, for example. One guy is a drug overdose. Before he was arrested, while he was in custody, he died. So there's a lot of circumstances. But the ICE is being ordered now to wear body cams. There's this big
in Chicago
push to wear body cams. Yeah,
in Chicago. And they also ruled that they need to pull the fencing off of the Portland facility, but they're not going to do either, to be honest with you. The other side of that was this. Trump announced he's surging. He's going to San Francisco. Got to clean up San Francisco because the Olympics are coming and all that. So might as well start now. So that's the next one that they'll be going into. Oh, look, Elon Musk is in there saying, awesome, go clean up San Francisco and the piles of poop that we got out there. So that's happening.
That's going to be a big deal. There's a lot of money in San Francisco.
Yeah, and you got to remember, Elon Musk pulled the Twitter's headquarters out of San Francisco when he bought it. Also, they're building more of the wall down there. They got 15 more miles down there in Arizona, and they wrote on the border wall, this one's for Charlie. So I thought that was pretty cool as they're building some of this other stuff. Protests in the local area here seems to be escalating here a little bit more as they're chasing some of these guys away for the regular reporters. So these guys are getting kind of violent. These are going to be the legal citizens, but obviously they're supporting the illegal immigrants. So that's coming up. What else do we got? The order to pull the border fence off around the ICE facility over there. That's not going to happen. So I don't think they're listening to these guys whatsoever.
It did. They pulled it.
Oh, they did pull it? Oh, shit, that they did. They're actually listening to it.
How ridiculous is that, though? Also, I mean, it's crazy.
I know. This one, the indictment alleges Martinez used a facility to interstate commerce, mainly Apple Model 16s and SC, as the intent for committing for life in prison. So this federal grand jury indicted a Mexican national, Juan Espinoza Martinez, for putting a $10,000 hit out on the U.S. Border Patrol. So they found the guy.
Why would they tell you the name? Look at that. Why would they tell you the name of the Border Patrol that got the hit? Like that completely, destroys the whole point of that. But okay, they list his name of the border. Okay, that's interesting.
Strange. Yeah. Also, they revoked 50 visas of Mexican nationals. Also, that was over here. Sorry.
Home Depot parking lot's looking good, nice and clear. We can park wherever we want.
Yep. And this is Mexico deporting the Venezuelans and Ecuadorians out of their country. So Mexico's racist.
And she's a soccer fan.
So this is the new group that just had come. Look, they got the new strollers and everything that we all talked about in Trump's first term.
Strollers, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah. So it's all in Spanish. So that's happening. 50 visas revoked from Mexican nationals tied into narco-terrorists. DOJ brings the first terrorism charges for the ICE attack. That's the bounties that they're talking about.
That's a bigger story, and it ties into Trump's new revision of the H-1B visa program, because even during the first Trump administration, going back to Bush, they were using H-1Bs to bring over these Mexican and others drug lords, their drug money, and allowing them to create jobs in the U.S. So basically, you pay $1 million or $10 million invested, and you create this many jobs. You get this type of visa or this type of visa for this many years, and a lot of these folks moved into the Houston area and very prominent neighborhoods and so on and so forth, and they were welcomed with open arms. And they started creating problems in school districts. The kids driving around in Lamborghinis, drug gangs started forming up, and now it's a problem in these red states. Okay, and getting that problem fixed now is part of the issue.
A long way to go. What else do I need to throw in here right before the end? Oh, I thought this was interesting. Just want to remind everybody the Supreme Court declared that it was okay for Barack Obama to do drone strikes on foreign terrorist organizations. I just wanted to go check. Somebody had pointed that out on July 16th, 2010. That was authorized to happen. So, yeah. Antifa,
it's the new
drone strikes.
It's not just Antifa. This is for Venezuela, because they've characterized Venezuela as DTOs or something like that. It's a new, some sort of term, designated terrorist organization. Yeah, DTOs.
Okay, the other thing I'm going to throw out here, I'm actually going to play this. It's only 1 minute and 20 seconds. They asked Holman directly about the $50,000 in cash. The FBI says recorded you. What's your answer, sir?
I know George Stephanopoulos is one of your best friends. Mm-hmm. He convicted you on television, okay, of a $50,000 bribe. Stephanopoulos did this on ABC. The vice president, J.D. Vance, defended you. And I thought he did so pretty well, because due process is important. Do you want to clarify anything about that situation?
I didn't take $50,000 from anybody.
Okay. How did that get into the mainstream, do you think?
I have no idea. Look, there's been hit pieces on me since I came back to this administration. There's got to be 30, 40 hit pieces on me about how I'm involved with contracts and government contracts, when in fact, day one I came back, I recused myself from any discussions on any contract or any monetary decisions like that, because I used to have a company that did consulting. So I cleared myself day one. What people don't talk about is I took a significant, huge pay cut to come back and serve my nation. And I'm not enriching myself doing this job.
Does this make you angry that they're coming at you this way?
I don't care what people think about me, and never have. No, because I know who I am. I work for the greatest president in the history of this nation, in my opinion, and we're doing the right thing every day. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Damn straight.
He's awesome.
I thought that was a good answer. Coming up from
high school football coach right there. He's going to motivate you to win that championship.
Here, Tron, read this for everybody.
Guys, seriously, top military officers central to Trump's drug war to step down early. Admiral Alvin Halsey, the head of U.S. Southern Command, has been in his job less than a year. An abrupt, surprising departure as President Boss shows interest in extending his administration's campaign of violence against drug cartels in the region. Such assignments typically last 3 years. This might have been a leftover from DEI, but if you don't listen to the boss's orders, there will be consequences.
So Marco Rubio's got another job?
Oh, God, Lord. He's going to, you mean you're going to add him another job. Okay, yeah, that's funny.
What else have we got to? Oh, the other thing I want to throw out here is being reported that Dr. Fauci's pardon was approved on 10:30 a.m. by Biden's White House chief of staff on the day of the inauguration. I don't know.
10:30 p.m. Wait a second.
Yeah. Oh, wait. PM.
That's after the inauguration.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
So that's interesting. So I don't know where to put
legal,
that.
Is it?
No, it's not legal. So I don't know what
auto pen signature.
Yep. So that's going with that. What else we want to get in here for the last little piece here? No, I don't want to listen to you. You can go away. think I got my last little piece.
Get scared. Oh.
We could skip that. That was the whole. This was again talking about how the Pete Hegseth of the Department of War basically says media, you can't walk around anymore. You got to stay in an area. You got to have media requirements there. You can report whatever you want, but you cannot go walking around and ask some employee, hey, what are you up to? And then go report on it.
They have to have escorts. They have to have escorts now. But the list is growing longer now. It's like, I don't know, I saw like 10, 15, 20 names of
Fox News and a whole bunch of
like, oh, we're not going to do it. Okay, well, fine. You don't get to go in the Pentagon.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. But here, ran by this clip with Flynn talking about that.
They did not want somebody like me, some general, walking in the hallways of the Pentagon to go, hey, what are you doing? What's your job? What's your role? Because there's so many people that are just useless. Okay, useless.
Were these just
no? They didn't have. No, I would see these people and I'd be like, the hell do these people do? They would be trying to hide what it was that they were doing. I go, what's behind that door? Right? There's no sign. So I'd say, can we open it up? Because I'm in a position where at that time in an area, I had some authority. I'd go inside the door and I'd be like, what do you guys do? And they'd be looking around going, oh my God, somebody actually came and saw me and found me.
Do you think that that's shame? What percentage of the people you spoke to, it's shame or that they're hiding something?
I don't think that they're hiding something other than the fact they don't want to lose their job or they don't want to feel like maybe my job could be taken away. One, if I run into somebody and have to tell somebody that I actually don't do anything. Number two, if I tell somebody that what I actually do and they go, well, why do we do that anymore? There's places inside of the Pentagon where we don't do those things anymore. The government doesn't even care about some of that stuff, but people still are going into a job every day. They get an 8-hour salary for the day and then they get their salary for the week and they don't actually do anything for the country.
What the Doge never did finish doing the DOD review. Nope. I think that's still ongoing. But the one thing I will say is Flynn and some other generals have commented directly also about the fact that there were Israelis and Ukrainians running around in charge of things in the Pentagon.
Yeah,
that blew me away.
And the whole Iranian delegation that kind of ran the White House in the beginning that you were pointing out, dude. Like, holy shit.
Under Obama. Yeah.
So here's your list of news organizations signed on and not signed on, but whatever. Whatever you want to talk about for those guys is up there. Thought this was interesting. NBC News fires nearly 150 staff who are responsible for the Black, Latino, Asian, and LGBTQ coverage.
They got to change the rainbow. They got to change the rainbow on their logo.
Also, since the Charlie Kirk thing, is they're seeing an increase in Christianity, basically Bible sales, spiritual app downloads, Christian music streams, all going up, guys. So it's good things to see out there. What else do we want to throw in here before I kick it to Mr. Rdoc? Actually, let's just kick it to you. Let's just kick it to you. I've been talking too long.
Show. Do your thing.
Only I got his crypto or Hulk.
Let me go look.
Is it the crypto.com one?
Yeah, as funny as it happens.
Yeah, we could do that one. It's not broken this week, but yeah, I'll click on it.
All right, clickety. Marshall. Commercial.
Break for 30 seconds.
All right, guys, let's be clear. Cryptocurrency is no longer emerging. It's here. And this latest move cements the reality in the biggest way yet. Trump Media Group just inked a massive $6.4 billion deal with Crypto.com, the world's top crypto platform. They're teaming up to scoop up $6.4 billion in CRO, the powerhouse token that fuels fast, low-fee DeFi, staking rewards, and real-world perks like cashback on your spends to launch America's first CRO treasury. When it's done, this new company will be the biggest CRO holder out there. Want in on the action? Head over to Crypto.com today and grab some CRO. Let's make crypto great again.
Break for 30 seconds.
I got to
We
share.
got that out of the way.
Hey guys, I don't know if you guys noticed. I put this in the chat that I'm not getting any lags or glitches on videos at all. I'm only getting audio, like rubber banding on Discord, and I'm seeing like
I agree.
my thing goes from like 99 to like 200, and then back to 99. I'm like, dude, wired in, I should not be that high. That's what he said.
I know. I do hear you. I hear you roboting, but I've been my ping is 7. I don't know what Tron's at. If you're good.
I'm jumping up between 170 and now it's 223, jumping to 394. We're being attacked at certain times. I can definitely tell we're being attacked at certain times, but that's okay.
155,
I think it's
102, and I'm wired too.
Yeah, I've heard you robot a little bit. But I think Tron's good because he's quiet.
I'm always 5x5. Come on now.
All right, you ready? You ready to go? Okay, let's rook this. It's going to be speed round because we got so much stuff going on. All right, let's just jack this volume up here, and we'll start off with the funny. So Trump was in Israel before he went to go sign the peace deal in Gaza, and while he was there speaking in Israel, we had a baby say something and interrupt him.
Steve was chosen by me. Never did this before, but I know him as
That's Steve Witkoff.
Things. He was a great businessman, but I know a lot of great business, to be honest with you. He had tremendous negotiating skills, but I know a lot of people that negotiate pretty well. So it is an art. People that negotiate pretty well. But most importantly with Steve, he's just a great guy. Everybody loved him.
That was Ivanka.
I mean, I know some negotiators that are so good, but you wouldn't have had peace in the Middle East. You would be in World War III right now with some of these guys. Everybody loves Steve.
They always make his face dirty.
And they somehow can relate to him. I've known him for many years, and I've seen it over.
That's the protest. That's the interruption.
Please expel this Knesset member. Please expel this Knesset member. Expel Knesset member Kasif out of the hall. Please expel him immediately.
Remember, your clips are quiet.
I thought I turned it up.
Just a little bit more than that.
Okay, that's pretty much it.
Very efficient.
That's scary, Netanyahu.
Very efficient. Very efficient. I love it. Okay, so that's a joke. We'll get into Israel in a second. Also, just to bring in everybody's.
Did you know this? I didn't know this.
I did not know it was today. I wasn't paying attention to this, but I knew that it was sometime soon because they all gathered in Lviv and did their candlelight ceremony and whatever, and did their singing and songs. But yeah, basically yesterday or on October 15th, 1959, Stepan Bandera, the guy that they all worship over there in the west of Ukraine, and people like Dmitry Yarosh and the people that basically get Zelensky into office and that are running the Ukraine war and in charge of Azov 3rd, Azov 12th, Azov 1st, Idar 29th, the 59th, 69th, and all these other brigades that are basically now having to fight and die because there's no regular soldiers left. His death anniversary was the other day, and so he was found dead there in Munich.
How they killed him, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah. So Bandera was going home for lunch. Yep, and in the entrance of his house at number 7. Kreitmeistrasse, the Ukrainian Nazi, was awaited by the KGB agent Bogdan Stashinsky. A pistol syringe with potassium cyanide was hidden in a rolled-up newspaper. Stashinsky fired the capsule with cyanide into Bandera's face. Thus, the death sentence of the Supreme Court of the USSR was carried out against the executioner of hundreds of thousands of Poles and thousands of Soviet citizens, the leader of the OUN, Organization of Ukrainian Nationalist, Stepan Bandera. That's who Bandera is. So Olga Bazova, she's definitely anti-Ukrainian, and is a Ukrainian herself, posted this. All right. Moving into the start here, we're going to run through a couple things. So Hegdeath was at the Defense Minister Ukrainian Contact Group that was just this past week. And he made some comments here that we need to play so everybody can hear what he's saying.
Now, if this war does not end, if there is no path to peace in the short term, then the United States, along with our allies, will take the steps necessary to impose costs on Russia for its continued aggression. If we must take this step, the U.S. War Department stands ready to do our part in ways that only the United States can do. We remain clear-eyed about the fact that the most effective deterrents to Russian aggression are, number one, a lethal, capable, and European-led NATO, and number two, a combat-credible Ukrainian military able to defend itself and thereby continue to deter Russian aggression along NATO's border. Again, peace through strength. Under President Trump's steadfast leadership, and in particular with our European allies, we're going to bring an end to the war in Ukraine. The war must end.
So basically, it's a change in policy. And this is a change in policy from what he was talking about back in the early part. So Glenn Deason had a comment here. The collapse of the peace, President Trump went from criticizing NATO expansionism for provoking the war and promising an end to the war in 24 hours to being an arms dealer threatening to send Tomahawk missiles that can carry nuclear warheads. And so Hegdeath was again standing there with NATO leader Rutte and pushing very aggressively that the United States will supply whatever it needs to do to give Ukraine stuff. So we're talking about giving Ukraine stuff again under President Trump. And it used to be, we're going to give NATO stuff. Okay, so we'll talk about that in a second. But just to kind of recap, back in February, he was pulling himself out of the contact group. He made comments that he was going to not be part of it, that they were going to turn this over to the UK leadership, and they were going to give this war to Europe, that the US was pulling out. They're not going to send weapons to Ukraine. They even stopped doing weapons to Ukraine and so on and so forth. So there has been a change in policy. And then back in April, Hegdeath actually skipped the meeting and didn't he? I don't know if he appeared on video camera or not for this one. But he basically said the same thing, hey, NATO membership for Ukraine, this is Europe's deal. Europe needs to step up and fund this stuff, et cetera, et cetera. It wasn't only USA can do this kind of thing. It was Europe. Your job is to do this. USA, we need to focus on China. Okay. And so the piece, Glenn Deason has this comment talking about its rebranding of hegemony, in which the U.S. uses threats, military power, disregards international law to force other countries' submission. This is the bully tactic of the United States, and this has been the way we've done things since World War II, because we have been the number one hegemon in the world, but now it's multipolar, and we're fighting for our position in the in terms of the spheres of influence and zones of control. That's something that the Bush administration was very big on, and that's what Dick Cheney coined the phrase on in terms of a continuation of policy and so on and so forth. All right, so this is a change in policy is the point I'm trying to get, coming out of our Defense Department. And so if Hegdeath is already out there making these comments, then you have to understand he's not going to make these comments without Trump's support in making sure that he can go and have this policy for the Department of Defense with our allies and so on and so forth. They have to be steps ahead of current actions and ready to posture and make available the necessary peace through strength reality on the ground with the weapons. Okay, now. All right, before I get into Kirill Dmitriev, the one comment I'm going to say here is the best comment I've heard symbolizing this. Okay, so United States has going to sell weapons that we don't have, that we can't make now. They will take years to make some of these weapon systems and whatever. We're going to sell weapons that we don't have enough of to NATO, which cannot legally buy weapons, but it's not really NATO, it's NATO countries. And those European countries are going to buy these weapons that we can't manufacture with money they don't have because they're broke. And then they're going to give those weapons to Ukraine, give these weapons to Ukraine, possibly under a loan deal that might steal Russian frozen assets, which would then destroy their financial banking system, their Euroclear system, and drive investment out of Europe even more and destroy their countries and watch them commit suicide. And Ukraine will then attempt to use these weapons with people that they don't have because they can't get enough people for their military. Well, there's been some discussions about that too. So that's the end thing I wanted to leave people with. You guys need to research this yourselves, dig into this yourselves, and come to your own conclusions. President Trump, this is Kirill Dmitriev, made a post. We're going to cover several of his posts, and he talks about the picking up on Donald Trump's post on Truth Social about the Ukraine impeachment of me. This was a very important post he made, and this is on this day that this happened, when he's talking about Ukraine impeachment, which is capitalized of me, was far bigger illegal hoax than Watergate. We covered this back in 2019 in detail, and Danilyuk and Fiona Hill and the Vindmans and all of these people that were working with the Ukrainians, and Zelensky knew what was going on in Yermak, and Biden and those guys and the deep state convinced him not to support Trump. And Zelensky basically let Trump fall under the bus, and all the crap happened. And Donald Trump has not forgotten it. He has not forgotten it. No matter what you see on TV, and no matter what you see the news, and no matter what Zelensky says in his little tweets and everything like that, Donald Trump has not forgotten that Zelensky freaking abandoned him and didn't support him. He could have shut the whole thing down, and he didn't. So we'll just remember that, because you see what's happening to people like Bolton and stuff like that, and what's going after Soros, and I think there's something coming. So Kirill Dmitriev is posting this stuff here and talking about how the Ukraine impeachment of him was important, very important thing to think. And then here we have DC Drano talking about it in regards to a comment Anna Paulina Luna, one of our Texas reps, was talking about the war pimps, the warmongers, the neocons, the MIC people that are being paid off by lobbyists to push weapons deals to keep wars going. That video you played in the very beginning, Hulkinator, about the cabal. Okay, that's who pushes this crap, and they've been making Russia a boogeyman and Ukraine for their own political gain, is what she says. This signifies a deeper systemic corruption that must be fixed. Boy, it sounds like that video you were just playing. The corrupt elected officials and intel operatives are responsible for this unnecessary shadow in foreign policy with Russia. Bill Clinton, George Bush had great relationship with Russia. Did they? Yet we are supposed to hate them. The same neocons that want to send your sons and daughters to die in conflicts overseas are the same ones pushing the Russia bad narrative, and the war in Ukraine must continue. Oh, neocons. I've got something here about neocons that we'll get to in a second. No. I think I've got it. Yeah, there it is. Oh, maybe I deleted. Yeah, here it is. This is the neocon movement. This is David Duke. He's one of those KKK dudes. If you remember David Duke, okay? Well, he talks about neocons. Might as well listen to it now, because we're talking about neocons. So let's turn this up, make sure people can hear it. Okay, I don't subscribe to anything he believes in, but he does talk about some things that are factually correct in this thing, and you, again, go research it yourself.
And neocons is a Jewish movement. And ironically, the neoconservative movement was created by Leo Strauss, University of Chicago professor, who was a Trotskyite. he worshipped, these people worshipped Leon Trotsky and the Bolshevik Revolution, and they became conservatives. I think the reason is because Jews and the left always had a close relationship. The Jewish relationship with communism was real. Winston Churchill, who is, in fact, I saw Bazarian with Piers Morgan.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the Jewish role in communism and that Jews ran the Communist Party. And he talked about the mass murders that existed. The United States Congress said communism killed 100 million people. Yeah. And the interesting thing is that Piers Morgan then said, oh, you're just a Jew hater. And he says, no, I don't hate Jews, but this is, we gotta let the chips fall where they may. Yeah. Communism was a murderous movement, and it was a Jewish movement. And he said, oh my God, that's not true. That's not true. It wasn't really basically a Jewish movement. Well, Winston Churchill's one of the heroes of Piers Morgan.
Yeah, a lot of people even.
Absolutely. And he's one of the heroes that is promoted by the Jewish media as a great guy.
West. Yeah, he pushes the hero to all of us in the West.
All the people. He actually wrote an article called Zionism versus Communism, a struggle for the soul of the Jewish people. And by the way, this is also written about by his chief biographer. And he wrote a book called Churchill and the Jews. He was also a big Zionist, by the way. Churchill was actually greatly influenced by the Rothschilds. They wanted influence for later the Balfour Declaration for Jewish issues, and they certainly wanted a war later in terms of...
That's what gave the Balfour Declaration is what gave the land to Palestine or helped give it to the Jews.
Well, yeah, of course it was said to not violate the civil rights of the indigenous people, but that went by the wayside. I mean, Israel was created by terrorist actions.
Yeah, I've done a lot of research on that, how the terrorists, they come in, they're massacring people, including English. They're killing English people.
Yeah.
So when they were fighting in World War II, they were killing English in Israel. It's so baffling.
Yeah, they were torturing them. And they did everything they could to aggravate the British so much that they just wanted to get out of there. And that's what they wanted, so they could go way beyond what the partition was, even though the partition was unfair to begin with. Palestine was literally 96% Palestinian.
Now, this is not all Jews, and I don't subscribe to Mr. Red Pills. He's definitely does not like Jewish people, okay? This is not about Jewish people. This is about a group of people that I would not classify as Jewish people who back in the 1840s, 1860s, early 1900s, this movement grew, and they were anti-monarchistic. They didn't want the monarchy. They didn't want the Romanovs to rule Russia. They didn't want the Habsburgs to rule the Holy Roman Empire. They became communist in their efforts to control things. And so, yeah, I saw that, Hulk, to control to destroy the current government system that prevented them from having a Zionist state, because that's ultimately what they wanted. And so they approached it from a terroristic standpoint. They fought in wars, they fought in revolutions, they created rebellions, and eventually they made a deal with Hitler and started exporting people to Israel and so on and so forth. Now, what are they doing today? Well, like you saw, they created this neocon movement here in the United States. The Jewish mafia was very, very active in the early formation of this country's history, including the La Cosa Nostra and the criminal elements of that underground and so on and so forth, but also in the banking industry and industrial revolutions and so on and so forth. We've learned about this. Now, again, it's not only this criminal element that may be associated with one particular religious group, but I would not classify them as religious. This is bigger than that. But I wanted to make that down there. So back to Paulina Luna, who's over there talking about the neocon movements and what they're trying to do and push and spend billions of dollars into the deal. Okay. Yeah, hold on a second, Space Shot. Let me finish this deal. So she got saw the Kirill Dmitriev post about the fact that there is going to be a bunch of documents that we talked about released on the JFK assassination. The Russians are turning all this over, and it was denied back in the 1990s. Okay, that's interesting. And now it's being given access to the whole world and will be released to the whole world. Okay, General Mike Flynn even commented and says it's wonderful. You know, this is good stuff. Okay, but she has been attacked mercilessly by the Ukrainians. The Ukrainian media and the NAFOs are going after her and calling her a Russian stooge. Okay. And they're trying to paint her this way. And this is exactly what they will do to any of us that dare to question Ukraine/Jewish control of the war, the neocons. And she came out today and basically made, hey, my criticism isn't with the Ukraine war. It's not with the Ukrainian people. Sorry, hold on a second. Yeah, I saw that. My criticism of the Ukraine war is not with the Ukrainian people, but with Zelensky directly. He was pressured by the British government into not taking a peace deal over 2 years ago. By the way, the news broke this past week or so that Boris Johnson got over £1 million, British sterling pounds, in connection with some of these movements and some of his activities in order to make that happen. And there was some articles that were talking about that and some sort of investigation that's going on. And that is being leaked by the Tories, the Conservative Party of Britain, because it's a message to him: you will not be part of the conservative process in running for re-election as Keir Starmer begins to fall, because Keir Starmer is falling. So this was leaked by them to make sure he does not run. That's the only purpose of it. Kirill Dmitriev also made a comment, made a post this past week, which was interesting, and he talked about Charlie Kirk, and he did a collection or thread of all of these posts of the Russians giving praise to Charlie Kirk. Now, why would the Russians give praise to Charlie Kirk? It's not about political connections, maybe a little bit, but it's about the Christianity aspect. So we talked about the rise of Christianity. Russia is a very Orthodox Christian country. Same with Ukraine, although Ukraine is split between the Uniate Church and the Russian Orthodoxy, and even with the new Ukrainian Orthodoxy. And so you have a lot of people and a lot of organizations in the media within Russia that was talking about how Charlie Kirk contributed to Christianity, not just in the United States, but his words were used by people all over the Christian Orthodox world, which is mostly outside of the U.S. because we're mostly a Protestant Catholic country. But Orthodoxy, very big in parts of Europe, very big in other parts of the Mediterranean and Middle Eastern world, and millions of people were affected by his words. And so Kirill Dmitriev was pointing that out as they were talking 300,000 in Arizona, billions worldwide. So that was an interesting comment. The next topic on the start menu, Larry Fink said the large part out loud. Let's listen to what he said, and then we'll talk about who Larry Fink is really quick to remind you. Let's go back to the beginning.
I do believe we're just at the beginning of the tokenization of all assets, from real estate to equities to bonds.
Volume up.
Across the board.
It's very loud here.
It is very loud.
But it's good. Capital's at work, Larry. You like that.
I love capital at work.
Yeah.
But there's $4.1 trillion of money in globally in digital wallets. A lot of that money is outside the United States. If we could tokenize a ETF, digitize that ETF, we could have investors who are just beginning to, invest in markets through, let's say, crypto. They're investing in it, but now we could get them into the more traditional long-term retirement products. So we look at that as the next wave of opportunity for BlackRock over the next.
Okay, so they want to go after money that's not being controlled by the banking cabal. That's essentially that. The entire reason for the crypto community existing out there is to take control of our own money and be our own banker and not have a central banking system have limits of control upon it. And so what Larry Fink is talking about is he wants to go grab all that. Now, there's another part of that. They also want to deleverage United States debt. They want to take the U.S. debt and other European debt, the Western debt, because we're way in over our heads in terms of our debt that's held by other foreign interests, let's say, and even some U.S. citizens own this debt, pension funds, and so on and so forth, and they want to throw it in and convert it over. Instead of dollar-based debt, they want to make it stablecoin-based debt. And in that stablecoin-based debt, then they will crash the market and basically get out of debt leverage, and they will devalue that U.S. debt, and so they will be able to, escape the debt, so to speak. That's ultimately part of the deep state's plans, if you believe certain sources. But just for a reminder, Larry Fink is now running the World Economic Forum. He is the interim deal after had to step down due to some of the corruption issues. So yeah, Klaus Schwab. So just a reminder on that one. Okay, we did the David Duke thing. Okay, here's another little tidbit about Israel that is interesting. Absolutely blew me away on this because I did not know. Well, I knew part of this. But this is just a little tidbit, so when we get into the Israeli discussion, we can understand.
The Zionists, particularly, who were against anything that was to be done if they couldn't have the whole of Palestine and everything handed to them on a silver plate so they wouldn't have to do anything. It couldn't be done. We had to take it in small doses. You can't move 5 or 6 million people out of a country and fill it up with 5 or 6 million more. And 5 or 6 million people out of a country.
So it wasn't really a land without people for a people without land.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We had to take it in small doses. You can't move 5 or 6 million people out of a country and fill it up with 5 or 6 million more and expect both sets of...
We're conducting an expansionist policy of Israel, and everybody's afraid to say it.
Design.
I thought that was interesting. This is Harry Truman. Okay, this is the guy that let the Banderites under Reinhard Gehlen become our first CIA assets. That's who this guy is. He was the one who helped put that deal together and brought the Nazis over in secret during World War II, before the end of World War II, and met with them for several months, and then let them all go back with the plan that when the war ended, how they would handle the data, how they would handle the transfer of Hitler's intelligence apparatus and make it our own. And that's how we got our CIA. That's the guy. All right. So in the Netherlands, this happened. This is you can hear their chants.
Why do they all look like Antifa? That's weird. Oh, but the message.
So they are against Antifa, they're against Jews, they're against the LGBTQ trans community, they're against the illegal immigrants, they're against the Muslims. I think they even threw some Christian groups in there. So they're just angry. They're just a bunch of angry white, mostly Christian, maybe some atheist elements in there, I don't know, people in Netherlands marching. And so why do I bring this up in the start menu? Because we've seen this in history before, in Europe especially, and this is what you call dogma. They are angry people that just need a spark and somebody to lead them in a direction, and they will be a little army. The United States Navy celebrated its birthday and 250 years, and oops, the NCIS and the U.S. Navy SEAL Museum accidentally posted a picture of a Russian missile cruiser as part of the U.S. Naval Fleet in celebration of the U.S. Navy birthday. I don't need to play the video. But
also, I just want to throw out there that Gavin Newsom's office came out and says Camp Pendleton was running an operation down there they were doing for the 250th, and they were going to close down the whole freeway and all that. And then, of course, the Defense Department had to come up and step up and go, no, that's all a lie. We're not going to do any of that stuff, but are going to do an entire 250 celebration down in San Diego on the 18th. So, yeah, so there's operations going to be happening. They said, don't worry, we're not touching the freeway.
Gotcha. This was a little aside. So there was a hot mic moment, and you can barely hear it. So this is that you dropped this to me, Hulkinator, and this is by somebody who is a libtard. Okay, these guys are leftists, and it's Aaron Rupar post. So he's definitely leftist, and so he has clipped this, but the discussion that's happening has to be analyzed by people that have some good audio equipment, but you can hear what is being discussed. And this is the Indonesian president talking to Trump, bringing to his attention that certain monies need to be paid and certain deals, not contracts, that's a bad word, deals need to be looked into, and it's involving Eric and Don Jr., and Eric and Don Jr., he needs to talk to them. And Trump is like, thank you for bringing this to my attention, and so on and so forth. So this guy, of course, is saying it's a major crime happening. Now I'm going to say it's not a crime. Everything that happened was legal, but I'll go into it in a little bit about what did happen. And then here's the actual Knesset thing, the baby thing. That's when he got walked out. I don't need to cover that again. But I will cover this. We'll get into this a little bit later, is that these posting dates are very important, especially this one and one that just happened a couple days ago. We'll talk about this a little bit later on if we have time. All right, moving on. EU. So von der Leyen is out there today with some big statements about who gets into the EU and who doesn't. She's talking about Serbia. So let's hear what she has to say about Serbia and how you can get into the EU.
Moment for Serbia to get concrete about joining our union. My first point is that we need to see progress on the rule of law, the electoral framework, and media freedom. I know these reforms are not easy. They take patience and endurance. My second point is that we need to see greater alignment in our foreign policy, including on sanctions against Russia. I commend you for reaching 61% of alignment with our foreign policy, but more is needed. And we want to count on Serbia as a reliable partner. How is the...
So what kind of bullpucky was she talking about? Because Serbia has been trying to get into the European Union for a long time. And just to remind people, because this will become important, Serbia was bombed heavily. And then the whole situation with Kosovo and the KFOR units over there and so on and so forth. So Serbia has been working, trying to get into the EU, doing these reforms and so on and so forth, and has made tremendous progress, okay? But they also have a very tight union with Russia that goes back a very, very long time, and she wants that to break. Well, the European Union has been pouring money in to protests and to try to overturn Vučić over there in Serbia for a long time. And here she is saying, well, you aren't quite ready to get into the European Union. It's going to take some time. You got to do some reforms. You got to do some things about your election process. You got to do some things about your laws. Okay, let's talk about Turkey, because Turkey has been a NATO ally, a member of NATO, has been trying to get into the European Union since 2018. Okay, and they have frozen this because Turkey is got a relationship with Russia. That's what it really comes down to. Turkey's economy is not the greatest either, but that's also because the European Union, while it uses Turkey and is in Turkey's markets, Turkey is not really allowed into the European market. Certain things are. And then there's this whole issue of the mass immigrants, 2 million Muslims that are sitting over in Turkey ready to cross into the European Union. And that's a big, big issue of control. So Turkey's on hold. But when it comes to European Union, Costa, the head of the president of the commission, actually says, "Oh, we're going to bypass our rules for admission to the European Union and tell Viktor Orban and the Slovakian president and now potentially the prime minister of the Czech Republic and others that we are going to have a majority vote and somehow invalidate all of our rules for membership of the European Union, this economic bloc, not a foreign policy, not a military, but an economic bloc. We're going to let Ukraine get to the front of the line, which is bankrupt and broke in the middle of a freaking war, and it's going to bypass you guys. Zelensky, and this is Viktor Orban, of course. And so Zelensky's been in this battle with Orban. And Orban's going to become important here in a second because he says, oh, with or without Viktor Orban in the European Union, we will join the European Union. He's that confident because Ursula von der Leyen has told him so. And of course, here's Ursula moments after deleting her texts on her phone of another $1 billion corruption case. All right, so she's washing her hands. Yeah. And this is a second issue of deletions. However, this one dealing with the Macron called her out on is one that they made a law that says she has to delete her text now. So now it's not an issue. She has to purposely delete any of her corruption so it can't be found in cases. All right, Germany, really quick while we're on EU, following up for if you've been following the channel and listening to the show, we've talked about the Germany's plummet. So this is, I believe this is Financial Times article, yeah, Financial Times. German industrial output has fallen to 2005 levels as the auto sector craters. So this is the compilation of sanctions. This is the compilation of no longer having access to cheap energy, getting smacked down with Trump's tariffs, the economy, the key sector of German economy, which is the auto industry and other industries as well are just as bad, has been just absolutely decimated, and they're laying off thousands and thousands of people, and this is having dramatic effects throughout Europe, especially in Eastern Europe, which tries to take advantage of the cheap labor in Eastern Europe for sub-assemblies and other components that feed into Germany's car manufacturing process. And auto exports to the U.S. are way down. Auto exports, of course, to China and elsewhere around the world are way down. They have committed economic suicide with their Ukraine policy. France, Le Cornu survived. So this is the guy, he's 27 days prime minister, resigned, begged to stay on for 2 or 4 days to help broker a deal on picking the next prime minister, was picked as the next prime minister, puts in the same group of people that he was going to put in the first place, and they immediately said, nope, there's going to be a no confidence vote. And so he survived not only 1, but 2 no confidence votes, and he's in again. And it looks like he's not going to stay long. He's even said that he's not going to stay long. So he's going to be on his way out the door. So we'll see what happens. France is in a freaking mess. And of course, in Madagascar, I don't know if this made much of the news, but this is an example of the colonization, the European colonies being destroyed. So the Madagascar president was removed in another one of these Generation Z protests and so on and so forth. And the president was forced to flee. The French evacuated him in a military helicopter, and he's now somewhere in France probably or whatever. So that's another example of French. Pavel Durov sent a message out recently today about I think it was right, no, October 14th, talking about how the European Union is again monkeying around with privacy in Telegram, and that under France and their law they can do chat control, and so he's warning everybody. So take a look at what Pavel Durov is writing here, and understand that there's some laws going into effect that not only affect the European Union in terms of social media, but because that treaty that Biden has signed, that Trump has not unsigned yet, of course our Congress has not ratified, but that treaty is still in existence, that has basically an equal balancing effect between the European Union and the U.S., their laws and our different citizens.
Trump said today, no, media. F you, there's no way it's happening. They said,
but he hasn't torn it up.
He said it today. He said, I don't care.
But he has to tear up the treaty. He has to tear up the treaty. He's got to tear it up. All right, UK, talking about the UK. So again, economic collapse, and this is Starmer. The UK is in deep fall. Here's the UK in terms of its flight. So millionaires are leaving the United Kingdom in massive amounts compared to other countries around the world. Netherlands is also in there. And within the UK, this is, again, the $1 million deal with Boris Johnson. He got the message that I talked about under Project Alchemy, and he was being paid essentially to keep Ukraine fighting because he had some ties in and was getting compensated by military contractors. So big news on that one.
There, huh?
All right.
That's why he went over there to stop
he did.
the friggin' war that time, that jerk off.
Well,
who was it?
That's what's being represented as why he went over there, but it's also a combination of things, because it's the U.S. wanted him to go over there and shut it down. This was all, make sure that Zelensky does not make peace with Putin, which would have stopped this thing in April of 2022. Ukraine would have been intact except for Crimea, and they would have started working towards reconciling these oblasts back into Ukraine, making sure the laws were dealt with, and so on forth. Everything that Russia was demanding was so much simpler if they would have just accepted it, and you would have 2.2 million Ukrainians still alive. That's the number. It's over 2.2 million dead now, and it's not 1.7 or 1.6 million Russians dead that Trump was echoing. That's BS. So what's big news today is the Trump-Putin call, and I'm watching that time tick by so fast. All right, so Laura, this is a clip before we have the Putin phone call today, and that there's a very big phone call that happened today if you were not paying attention, and that he promised he was going to do. So this is an audio-only clip that was captured.
I give Ukraine credit for doing so well. I mean, they're good fighters. They're very good fighters. I really think that President Putin would look great if he got this settled. And I think he's going to settle it, but we're going to see. And if he doesn't, it's not going to be good for him.
Okay, so that was Trump on Air Force One on October 12th, I think. And Robert Barnes, who's a big Trump supporter, says Ukraine will concede or Russia will win. This is the reality Trump is ignoring because Kellogg and crew keep lying to him. That's his assessment. I agree with it. You can do your own research and make your own conclusions. Again, Robert Barnes again. Yeah. So let's listen to this one again. I didn't know I had both of these back to back. Oops.
I have to speak to Russia, to be honest.
Or it's the same one I just played.
It's
the same one.
Tomahawks going in their direction? I don't think so. I think I might
That's a different one.
speak to Russia about that, in all fairness. I told that to President Zelensky because Tomahawks are a new step of aggression. Right?
So he's admitted it. He knows they're a new step of aggression, a new escalation in the conflict, something the Biden administration refused to do. Biden refused to do this because they were concerned it was a step in aggression and escalation. But strength through peace, President, who in the very beginning said, we're not going to do this, is now talking about giving a very, very aggressive escalation that the Russians have repeatedly said, no. We'll talk about that in a second.
Very well.
Are you saying that you will speak to Putin first about Tomahawks?
I might talk to him. I might I'd say, look, if this war's not going to get settled, I'm going to send them Tomahawks. I may say that. The Tomahawk is an incredible weapon, very offensive weapon. And honestly, Russia does not need that. They don't need that. Yeah, I might tell them that if the war is not settled, that we may very well do it. We may not, but we may do it. I think it's appropriate to bring up. Yeah, I want to see the war settled. Thank you very much.
Okay, Space Shot. You are very big on Trump doing the double speak and making sure that he says something to get certain reaction moves and counter moves and so on and so forth. Comments on this.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. I mean, in my opinion, him and Vladimir have already been working some things out. I think they know the plan, how they're going to work things out together. And I think this is just going to be another one of the things. And I was just going to ask you, are these weapons that, again, nobody can pay for, can't be made in a certain amount of time, or are these things that could be sent over anyway? You know what I mean? So if it's something that he's like, yeah,
we're definitely going to get into that.
You know what I mean? So again, I think he always does this, and I was going to bring that up too. The fact that he's like, he better do this or it's going to be bad for him, and it's like, yeah, he does this stuff all the time. So what I see forecasting, I see the end to the Ukraine-Russia thing sooner than later, even though the other neocons and these people want to keep pushing it. But I do see an end to it because now he's focused on it, it seems.
Yep. So following right along, and I'm going to skip and go out of order here for a second here. So this Lavrov, just before Trump and Putin had talked, Lavrov was out there with some statements in the media talking about this Tomahawk issue, and he also brought up a very important point about the Alaska meeting, and he says, regarding Tomahawks for missiles, this byline here, according to the Russia's top diplomat, the process launched during the Russia-U.S. summit is not yet complete. What's not complete? Okay. Second little frame picture. Alaska process is not finished. Moscow is still waiting for a U.S. response to a proposal made at the summit, the Russian foreign minister said. Now, what is this proposal that the U.S. made? Well, it's Stephen Witkoff's peace proposal that he brought to Putin, and Putin was asked to come to Alaska to bring an answer on this peace proposal, and he did. He brought an answer, and the answer was yes, we agree to this Witkoff peace proposal for Ukraine, but here are some details on the implementation of some of these steps that we want to work out with you. So they agreed on this peace plan while in Alaska, and they all came away with that agreement and waited on the United States to answer whether they were in agreement also. So the United States was supposed to go off and meet with Ukraine and talk about it with Ukraine and bring back an answer, and they are still waiting. Okay, so basically the Russians are saying, we trust Donald Trump, we're waiting on his answer, we're not worried about Tomahawks. Top diplomat also said the latest U.S. statements about potentially supplying Kiev with Tomahawk missiles do not affect the understandings reached in Alaska. He linked the statements with the pressure Washington faces from Kiev's backers in Western Europe. The EU and UK are trying to make the Ukraine conflict Trump's war and force the U.S. president to change his initial stance, Lavrov said. Okay, it looks like that to me too. I mean, Trump's and Hegseth is out there talking about this stuff. Russia is still waiting for a U.S. response to its roadmap presented in Alaska, the foreign minister said on Wednesday. Lavrov also praised Trump and his administration for being the only Western government that has made an effort to understand the underlying root causes, this is root cause, that's the Istanbul Agreement, of the Ukrainian conflict, among which, according to Lavrov, was the West's desire to lure Ukraine into NATO and discrimination against the people of Donbass by Kiev. Lavrov is saying here that Donald Trump understands these issues. He's the only Western leader that understands these issues, and they came to agreement on this in Alaska, and that they made a peace agreement in Alaska based on a framework, but they're still waiting based on the changes. So they accepted Witkoff's proposal with some modifications, some sort of modifications related to the implementation of certain pieces that were agreed to by Russia, but needed to be modified related to practical realities on the ground or whatever the case is. Okay, so what's going on now? Well, Okay, so then we have the phone call. So let's jump back to the phone call. So Trump says he will meet. Okay, so the phone call happened. Oops, I got out of order here. So the Trump phone call happened. Zelensky's supposed to be coming on Friday. He said that during the Gaza meeting. So Zelensky's coming tomorrow or today, depending on where you are in the world, and going to be meeting in the White House. Yermak and others have already been here in the U.S. meeting with Tomahawk missile manufacturers. Okay, so the big PR production is out there, the big threat, the big bluff, whatever you want to call it. Okay, but again, Putin and Lavrov and the Russians, doesn't matter. Somehow Tomahawk missiles do not affect them, and maybe we'll discuss why. So while Trump had this phone call, and yet this is funny. So he says, "I'm speaking to Putin now. The conversation is ongoing, a lengthy one. I'll report the context as will President Putin at its conclusion. Thank you for your attention to this matter." And so this dude says, "Our man is busy talking to Putin. The conversation is so lengthy that he got bored in between and started posting on Truth Social. He will update you when it finally ends. Thank you for your attention to this matter." I thought that was hilarious. But the phone call happened. Someone wanted to read this? Who wants to do the boss? Anybody?
I have concluded my telephone conversation with President Putin of Russia, and it was a very productive one. President Putin congratulated me and the United States on the great accomplishment of peace in the Middle East, something that he said has been dreamed of for centuries. I actually believe that the success in the Middle East will help in our negotiation in attaining an end to the war with Russia, Ukraine. President Putin thanked the First Lady Melania for her involvement with children. And again, that's that back channel, amazing speech by Melania a few days ago. He was very appreciative and said that this will continue. We also spent a great deal of time talking about trade between Russia and the United States when the war with Ukraine is over. Sounds like it's coming. At the conclusion of the call, we agreed that there will be a meeting of our high-level advisors next week. The United States initial meetings will be led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, together with various other people to be designated. A meeting location is to be determined. President Putin and I will meet in an agreed upon location, Budapest, Hungary, to see if we can bring this inglorious war between Russia and Ukraine to an end. Zelensky and I will be meeting tomorrow in the Oval Office, and we will be discussing my conversation with President Putin and much more. I believe great progress was made today in this telephone conversation.
So basically, no tomahawks. That's the end. Then the Ukrainians are flipping out about this because they feel like they're again betrayed. That nothing in here seemed aggressive. That nothing in here said Trump said he was going to definitely do tomahawks. They were waiting for this announcement to come today, and it didn't happen. And furthermore, the comment talking about Budapest, Hungary, very, very important. Going back to remind you about this argument over here with the European Union and Zelensky and a session into Hungary, playing a very important part. Trump didn't pick Hungary for no chance, because over here in the Gaza meeting, he actually made a comment about Viktor Orban. Yeah, there it is. Looks like it went right to it. He says, "We have Hungary. Where's Viktor? We love Viktor. You are fantastic. I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but I'm the only one that matters." So he slammed all these people behind him. There are European leaders that are opposed to Viktor Orban, who has been the only European leader trying to make a peace deal with Russia. And he went to China, he went to Russia. If you've been listening to this channel, you know what Viktor Orban has been doing. But the European Union is 100% after Viktor Orban and trying to bring him down. All right, so jumping back over here, wherever the heck I was. Good Lord. Okay, so there we go. Here we go. Oh, that's tomahawks. Putin. There we go. And so So following a 2-hour phone call this morning, President Putin announced he and Putin will meet in Budapest, Hungary, to try to end the war in Ukraine once and for all. The peace president never stops. Make this the 9th war you've ended, 47. That's Nick Sorter. So he's a big pro-Trump guy. Then we have GNL 1974 talking about how Putin, people say the summit in Budapest will take place soon. And we have Kirill Dmitriev confirming good and productive call between the President Putin and President Trump, and the Caroline Levitt talking about it and saying the same thing. And so basically we have there's not going to be any decision on Tomahawks until after Trump and Putin meet. That's been established. Orban announced the start of preparations for the conversation. Let me get this cleaned up here so I can see. And I just spoke on the phone with President Trump. Preparations are underway. So Viktor Orban is being brought front and center, whereas Europeans are being dismissed. Okay, Putin in Budapest with Alex Christoforo sums it up greatly. Putin in Budapest with Orban and Trump. Putin in the EU, NATO territory, very risky. He's coming to the European Union. He's coming to Hungary, which means how he gets there is going to be very interesting. I don't know how he's going to get there. Watch for that in the news. Ursula, Kallas, Merz, Macron, Starmer, Tusk, Rutte, Stubb, and of course Zelensky are having a massive giant meltdown at this moment, and they are. And as you posted here, he talks about the 20 brand new B-2 bombers that we ordered, and he makes a statement, which is actually a lie, but that's okay. It sounds good, because we all saw the reaction by Putin when the aircraft flew overhead, and he says, while we were riding with him in Alaska, we passed a lot of them, and he said that really did the trick, and I said, yeah, it did. So I don't know. Maybe he said it, maybe he didn't. But it didn't happen on the tarmac. All right. This is why Russia can't sign a deal with Zelensky. This is former Prosecutor General of Ukraine, if y'all remember him, when we covered this stuff back in 2019, 2020 timeframe. And he is saying after the elections, they will tear up any agreement Zelensky has with Russia because legally he is an illegitimate president and the new president coming in. So this is a legal expert in Ukrainian law in the Constitution now telling you that why they cannot have the ceasefire agreement, why they can't have an agreement until they have the freaking elections. And I will tell you that there is movement underway in Ukraine right now to not have the martial law continued, and Yulia Tymoshenko is being positioned to possibly be the next president of Ukraine. I think the Trump administration has made a deal with her and that she has also been made a deal. She's very popular in Ukraine still. And even though she used to be Hillary's gal, she may be somebody that the Trump administration thinks they can work with, that will work with the Russians. She did make that gas deal that was beneficial to Ukraine with the Russians. And then Yanukovych threw her in prison and she got beat up and all that jazz happened. All right. Putin's talking about meeting with many presidents and over his term, and they all change and they say this and they say that. So Putin's basically saying, I know that Donald Trump may be able to say this, but we don't fully trust him. But Lavrov's comments seem to indicate that they do. Meanwhile, also related to Russia, this is in the metro in Ukraine. Okay, related to the elections, the Ukrainians protested in front of the Maidan this past week as the lights were going out. So they're protesting about the power outages and Ukraine's failure as a president, and yada, yada, yada. And then in the metro, they started to sing about, Zelensky, you're a dictator. Come and join us in the metro. This is our lives. This is what you've done to us. So come and live just like us. Basically, he's a scoundrel and they don't like him. All right, so that was fascinating news this week. Related to the Tomahawks as well, Donald Trump talked about the call, and he said, did Putin try to dissuade you from selling Tomahawk missiles? Well, of course. Do you think he's going to say, please sell Tomahawk? So this is how Donald Trump responds to dumb reporters, which is awesome. Earlier in the week, Trump did say that he would talk with President Zelensky about the war. We will discuss it. As I understand, they want to go on the offensive. Okay. Well, they need weapons money to go on the offensive. They need to pay their soldiers. They haven't been able to pay their soldiers, and they're getting, billions of dollars from the European Union to do that. That's why you're seeing this NAFO and SIPO activity on social media. And their pressure campaign is on the U.S. politicians to try to disrupt things that Donald Trump is working on. They thought they had him with the tomahawks, but now they don't, and they're going to be pissed, and they're going to be in a massive pressure campaign trying to scurry around. What is believed is happening is that the tomahawks. We'll just go on to the next one. Let's go this because of no time. So Zelensky's team is here in the U.S. right now, and so during his visit, he's going to be making this plea again. He's going to be meeting with U.S. defense giants, energy negotiation. They need repairs for the energy infrastructure. He's going to be meeting with Congress. People like Lindsey Graham is going to have a little accident in his pants because he's going to get so excited. He's going to get to hug Zelensky. This is being made a big deal on Friday. It's going to be very interesting. Pay attention to the news tomorrow. We'll talk about it all next week about what did happen and what the decision was. But Mark Rutte did say that during the contact group meeting that they had just the other day, they would not be discussing tomahawks and among the NATO defense ministers. So that was an interesting comment because only NATO can fire these, even if they're on mobile launchers. And the big mobile launchers are not able to be used in Ukraine. So the new mobile launchers, the Pentagon and the neocons and the MIC wants to test them out in Ukraine. That's why they want to give these 20 to 50 tomahawks. So that's how many we're talking about. Nothing that will affect the war, but the Russians say it will affect the relationship with the United States, and that's what Donald Trump's message was after the call. Was I don't want any tomahawks going to Ukraine while we are negotiating and talking with Russia. It will screw up our relationship. So that was interesting. So that's that message right there. And the plan has already been developed. Of course, that's why Hegseth is over there talking about it. And again, and the tomahawks can't be used by Ukraine. They have to be used by U.S. military or a NATO military. And because these are big missiles, these are not little cruise missiles. These are big. B-52s, launch capability. That's why we keep the B-52s, is they're the only platform that can do an air launch of the Tomahawk. The ground-based launchers, which are the old Typhon systems, those are big. And then the new systems that supposedly can carry, I think, 6 missiles and be interchangeable. These are potentially what they're talking about deploying in Ukraine. We'll have to see. And of course, the U.S. Navy has the launch capability for Tomahawks, but the personnel that will have to be doing it are U.S. military. And so what they're going to do is they're going to call them contractors. So they're going to take active duty military or people that were involved in the military or somehow, and they're going to give them leave, and they're going to make them into consultants and contractors and send them over to Ukraine, and they're going to have to be the ones firing these. I don't need to go into this article. It goes into detail. It talks about how many Tomahawks were created, how many were produced. The Navy's only ordered 57. It's an insufficient number for Raytheon. They can't ramp up production, blah, blah, blah. So we'd have to take them from U.S. stocks, et cetera, et cetera. And Russia's response, of course, is, hey, we are going to view, if there's a launch of Tomahawks against Russia, we're going to view this as a nuclear strike, attempted nuclear strike. Thanks, Hulk, I see it. And we're going to respond accordingly. And the Ukrainian officials did meet with manufacturers, weapons manufacturers, including Tomahawk. Andrei Yermak, troublemaker extraordinaire, and Prime Minister Yulia Serdniko met with Lockheed Martin and Raytheon. And they were all big about this. They were all, we're going to get Tomahawks, we're going to get Tomahawks. And the media has been reporting it's like it's a done deal. And here comes Trump after the call and like, pause. Okay, moving on to Gaza peace plan. So we had a peace plan. If you did not catch my tweets earlier in the week, this is Uri Geller. He's that psychic guy, and he warned Donald Trump to be careful or not go to Sharm el-Sheikh because of concerns about security. And of course, on the way to Sharm el-Sheikh, we have the Qatari delegation. Some of the Qatari delegation were killed in a car accident in Egypt. Now, I've been on these roads. I've been on these roads between Taba and Sharm el-Sheikh, and they're winding little dark roads with no lights and some cliffs down into the rocks below and the wadis, and even along the Red Sea shore there. And there's burned out hulks of Peugeot taxis and everything like that. And the lights on these cars, I'm sure the delegation was in better vehicles, but they have multiple high beams. It's like we have one click up, one click down on our high beams in our cars. These cars have like 6, and they like from zero light to more light to like super bright freaking lights, and then off again. And sometimes it ticks off. And I've been there on the night. And so these guys got killed, 3 Qatari diplomats and 3 others injured. That was before the event. Of course, the event happened, and the guns have fallen silent. Hostages have been freed. Long-awaited peace deals have been signed, and there's Trump with Orban. Interesting, when that photo was there on that post. They signed all the agreements and so on and so forth, sitting alongside the leaders of Qatar, Egypt, Turkey. Now, Israel was not present, and Mark Rubio, I think, talked about that, or maybe it was Macron. But the credit is going, according to Axios Exclusive, direct meetings between Trump envoys and Hamas leaders sealed the Gaza deal. Now, who do you think the Trump envoys were? Well, that's Jared Kushner and Witkoff, right? Maybe some others. I don't know. All right. Secretary of State Rubio did say Britain and France caused the collapse of the Hamas-Israel ceasefire that originally happened when they recognize a Palestinian state. So Britain and France, he's blaming Britain and France for causing problems in their negotiations because they came out and recognized a Palestinian state. And the U.S. was like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And Europe went ahead and did it. So they screwed with Trump's diplomacy. They were trying to keep that war going, which is interesting. Or maybe they're trying to end it. I don't know. And then Maloney blasted Keir Starmer, saying he played no part in the Gaza peace deal and branded him international embarrassment. And he should stop wasting his time meddling in international affairs and sort out his own country. The people are fed up. So that's Georgia Maloney saying this. So Maloney and Starmer were in the background over there in the Gaza peace deal. And so here's Macron saying why Netanyahu wasn't allowed to be there. Well, his presence would have put many leaders in difficult position. Turkey said they would not come and sign the deal. I can't remember. Egypt, I think, maybe also said the same thing. And then Hamas was also kept away. And so basically they made this deal without the 2 primary belligerents and signed this deal off as their representatives or whatever you want to call it. And so Trump did slam the EU, and he praised Viktor Orban. We covered that already. And then Pakistani prime minister got up there. Now, Pakistan is our controlled vassal. They are one of our proxies now. After the government was overthrown and they threw Imran Khan and tried to throw him in prison, and they wouldn't let him run, and so on and so forth. That country is our politically captured vassal state. That's going to come in important because in Afghanistan, I think that's Argentina, Afghanistan, there it is, Afghanistan is having a China-U.S. proxy war between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And this started out as a border skirmish, has turned into now bombings of Pakistani Air Force on Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan. And this is now heating up. This is U.S. proxy Pakistan and China proxy Afghanistan. Remember Trump's comment about going back into Bagram Air Base? Well, China says, nah, don't monkey around in our zone of control. We got to exit. Rdoc says Hulkinator. Okay. All right. So let me try to at least say the other big things that are happening here. So we've got Venezuela, we've got CIA, we've got F-16 fighter jets flying in response to the B-52 bombers that Trump put near the border. Trump's talking about making strikes on land. Now, the Trump admin is now authorizing covert CIA action in Venezuela. They've been covert. This is an awesome thread by Streamway Talukdar. I would encourage people to go look at it, to go into detail about what's been going on there with our clandestine efforts. The New York Times also has a great article talking about covert CIA action down there. And meanwhile, during the week, President Maduro's out there, doing a march in defense of peace and sovereignty among the people, and so on and so forth. Argentina is a mess. We talked about the $20 billion. Trump's talking about an additional $20 billion. The whole soybeans issue with China. The China trade war is a major thing. Oh my God, we're not going to have time to get there. The bottom line of the China trade war is this, and this is where we'll end. We saw the public response of the White House blaming China for this response on their export controls. They tightened up the export controls. Well, this is the reason that China tightened up the export controls, is because this, what's called the Trump 50% rule, went into effect on September 29th. The final law went into effect in, actually it's September 30th here. So basically what this does is it throws a bunch of subsidiary companies, U.S. subsidiary companies of potential Chinese companies, that if they're 50% or more owned by that Chinese parent, or that parent who's sanctioned, doesn't even have to be a Chinese parent, it can be another company, then those companies also get added to the sanctions list. And so essentially you have thousands, tens of thousands of Chinese companies that are buying certain materials for production of things in the United States. They're buying materials to send back to China, to send elsewhere throughout the supply chain that China might have in those parent companies. And those companies are now sanctioned. They cannot buy anymore. So China saw this as U.S. tightening its export controls, and they responded. Okay, but we were told, So under the 50% rule, Tyler Durden commented Beijing wasn't expecting a second trade war. Yes, they were, actually. And the Dutch government took control of this Chinese chip maker, Nexperia. Well, it turns out that under this Goods Availability Act, which has never been enacted before, it's supposed to be for wartime, like to make sure that country has, critical national security issues. Well, they've implemented this and there's no war, unless I'm mistaken. The European Union and Netherlands is not at war with China, but they seized this company, and then lo and behold, 80% of the chips are actually packaged and assembled in China. Very little manufacturing takes place in Europe. And so these 14,000 people that this company employed are likely going to be out of a job, contributing to the economic melee in Netherlands and elsewhere in Europe, and so on and so forth. So the trade war is ongoing, and it's getting worse, and I guess we can cut it there, but there's so much more. Oh my God.
There's never enough time. Never enough time. 3 hours, the fastest 3 hours on the internet that you've ever seen. We appreciate you guys being here.
Watch Ecuador. That's the last thing I'll say related to international, except for the final thoughts. Ecuador is heating up.
Yep, there's some vehicle bombs going on down there as they're protesting out there. It's getting pretty crazy going down in South America. So we got so much to cover. I can't fit it into one show. Rdoc, I really appreciate your international stuff, because so it really helps out with the understanding of how everything ties into the United States and abroad, because I think so goes the world, so goes the United States there. So again, leave comments on the bottom of the video, smash the thumbs up button on there. Let me return your thing to the proper area over there. I'm going to go ahead and kick it right to Mr. Tron. Tron, what is for dinner? We got to do exits out of here shortly.
What's up, guys? Thank you for an awesome Thursday night. Space Shot Hulk and Rdoc. See you guys tomorrow night for Biscuits and Gravy. Saturday for Keeping It Wheel Music Show. And Great Awakening Morning Show, of course, on Sunday morning. Been a pleasure, Patriots. 7+ years on this show. Hit that thumbs up. Leave a comment. Thank you for your support. And we'll see you over the weekend. And as always, guys, dig, meme, and pray. Where we go one, we go all. Much love, tribe. And we'll see you next time. Thank you guys again for a great show.
Yeah, Mr. Rdoc, your final thoughts as you exit?
My final thoughts. Share my screen again really quick because this can be my final thought.
Crap.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think this is really important for everybody to at least get a piece. They can start researching it.
Pop out. I got it.
Okay. So my final thought is this, because earlier we were talking about the crypto thing and everything like that. So this, there was a market crash that occurred. I don't know if anybody's aware. And this is a pretty severe crash. There was a single trade, a dump on the market of BTC, and it crashed BTC, Ethereum. It crashed altcoins. It did a bunch of stuff. Okay. And this guy, the same night, within hours, committed suicide. Okay. And this is the Ukrainian crypto trader for the Ukrainian oligarchs, including Kirill Dmitriev, and they had and this is timed to exactly coincide with the Donald Trump announcement of the and Jared Kushner's, again, another announcement of buy the dips right afterwards. So there's nothing illegal with what Jared Kushner is saying, because if the market dipped, the market crashed, etc. But there's some insider knowledge going on. Some people were prepared to do certain things, and so one of those people did exactly that and dumped Bitcoin and crashed the market right in coinciding with this announcement. And this guy knows the situation, and the Russians, they are making their own opinions about what's happening and what's going on about the debt and so on and so forth and the plans. But then there was some revaluation of gold that is also part of this thing. It's all part of a potential reset plan. But I will tell you that there is an individual, and I've shared it with the guys. His name is Nick WG. And I'm outing him for a reason. I'm not giving his full last name, but people in the Trump administration will know who he is. And this gentleman, working with other millionaires and billionaires that are working with Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr., and some others, including people like Mr. Hayden Davis, and a few other folks that I could name, are taking advantage of some information to buy and sell certain assets, certain crypto, in response to things that they have knowledge about in the Trump administration. So what happened? Well, the Ukrainians' secret cash stash has been wiped out. This says 19 billion market crash. Okay, he's lost billions of dollars of stash cash that belong to the Ukrainians. Okay, and while at the same time, a lot of Trump billionaires and millionaires have made a lot of money. In particular, I know of $5.3 million for one individual on a deal that was worth $270 million. Okay, and I could name these names. So there are games being played behind the scenes in response to actions that are part of our foreign policy. And so when I hear crypto ads being run saying, go here or look there, as somebody, I encourage you to do your research. That's the only thing I can say here. Do your freaking research, because there are people that have a lot more information, a lot more knowledge that can take advantage of you, because these guys have, Hayden Davis is one of them, have ripped off millions of MAGA people in the Trump coin and the Melania coin and stuff like that. And they're in lawsuits right now, massive lawsuits. So do your research before you invest in stuff, and understand that there are players out there that are working behind the scenes that you may not know about. And that's my final thought.
All right, Mr. Space Shot, sir.
Yay, 12:30 and 6:30 local time for Rdoc AM. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us on these Thursdays. We'll see what the next couple of days brings. It's going to be some very interesting meetings and things happening. Well, I guess we could just call it happenings in the next couple of days, especially. So we'll see how that stuff works out. Let me clear this Pepe. Ooh, this Pepe will not go away. You sound like you feel a little bit better now, Hulk, huh? Starting to clear out that verklempt out of your system.
I was coughing before the show.
All right. So thank you to the mods as usual. We have another platform open for the time being. We'll see how that works out. Don't expect that for the longevity. Come on over to thefoxhole.app and pill.net, guys. And of course, oldrumble.com. Take a look at their platform. Give them a peek-see. I know there's a lot of people that always stuck to the old YT, but I'm telling you, times are changing. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you to the mods out there. I will make sure maybe go to the old D Live there. Thank you to Liz GP Dancer and Patriot Chick, and I will definitely distribute the rewards today, so I won't forget again on that one. So thank you guys all for hanging out with us, and I will get back to you now, Hulkinator, and back to you. Yeah.
Just to tell everybody out there that YouTube's not going to be a for sure thing every week or weekend, or if we're doing the Table of Titans or the Hulk and Space Shot show. So don't plan on it being there. We're more there to announce that, hey, we're still on our platforms. If you want to watch the show, we suggest to be over there. So don't come complaining to us if you don't find us broadcasting every show on YouTube. I can't guarantee that at all whatsoever. Over on the Pill side, we thank you everybody for hanging out with us over there. I do want to say Sean Joe gifted the can, Woked and Walked. Gifted 247 on the gold pills. It says, God bless Hulk, Space Shot, Rdoc, Tron, and the whole Foxhole fam. Winning bigly. And prayers for Tina Peters. Yeah, hopefully she gets out. Tina Booth gifted the cookie. Thunder 1, the can, keeping it up. Thanks. Gamebree, I gifted the shade. Sean Joe, the can. Sean Joe, cookie. Thunder 1 with a can, or I said one Thunder with the can, and Sean Joe with the cookie. Going to go ahead and drop out the gold pills over there on the Pill platform. Thank you for everybody who showed up over there, and we're going to continue the rest of this saga on the Saturday show for the Hulk and Space Shot show. So see you guys all at 1 p.m. Eastern, and like Space Shot always says,
we do appreciate each and every one of you wonderful world patriots out there for tuning in, and until that next video, thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Peace! Sleep blop.
Hello, guys. Something special is happening in here. That's right. It's brackets and jackets. Bringing it back for brackets and jackets. Special Epstein Island edition. That's right, folks. Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein, the man with the island, which is suspiciously close to Haiti. That's right. You see, this man, Jeffrey Epstein, is funding lots of people. He's funding lots of people on the street to make sure his shit doesn't get out. That's right. They want the record sealed. And they're paying a lot of people. Epstein's paying a lot of people. Oh, boy. For one, he's got a whole Mossad media matrix in America. And I would bet you anything that Alex Jones is one of them. Prove me wrong. That's right. Cappy's in the portal. Cappy's in the portal. Cappy's in the building with songs about Epstein. It's Breakfast Jacket's Epstein edition. Guys, I had some epiphanies today. I had some real big epiphanies about some guys. A big network of guys and spies and lies and liars. All right, think about this for a minute, okay? The guy in Portland, the scientist that just got busted for producing CP, that guy is 1 degree of separation away from Epstein. Epstein, the investor that lives in West Palm Beach, Florida. I know a guy who lives in West Palm Beach, Florida as well. Investor as well. Also involved as well. And all is not well with these guys. The Florida boys, the Glow boys, the Scott Israels of the world. You see, Epstein is Hillary Clinton. And Epstein is Haiti. And Epstein is a big network of media assets. By the way, did you know that Steve Bannon was going to that guy for money? Also, Epstein Oprah? Epstein is Chris Tucker. You remember him. Epstein is also Kevin Spacey. Epstein is also Prince Andrew. Epstein is also... Who else is Epstein? Who else is Epstein? Tell me. You guys know? Who else is Epstein? Is Epstein Big Pharma? Is Epstein Bryan Singer? Is Epstein Naomi Campbell? Yep, all of the above. All of the above. Who is Epstein? Epstein is the keystone of a whole motherfucking matrix. And once you pull it out, it all falls down. Dersh was there too. That's right, we're dropping red pills every day. Dropping red pills in the best kind of way. This is brackets and jackets for the denizens of islands.